started doing undercover work, and it was my excuse. I can't use it as the total excuse, but it was kind of like my freedom to say, like,
wait, like undercover work
and police work. Yeah.
No way.
So I was doing vice work, and like everyone we're dealing with has tattoos.
What's vice work?
Like usually drugs, prostitution, guns, stuff like that.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So
you were in it.
Yeah. So then it's like, the whole world's like that. And
yeah.
Again, I was into it myself.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse to say,
absolutely,
oh, man, I got to do it. So yeah. So mostly older, probably. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So were some of them just for like cover?
Not really. I mean, I can say it was, but yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, excuse. Like most of the people, tattoos change so much in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
In police work originally, like it was a no-no. Like you couldn't have tattoos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Show them. Yeah. So it's kind of obviously military and the amount of people in the military.
Yep.
Coming back from the wars. So yeah.
No way.
More mainstream now, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, since we're into that.
Yeah.
When did you get into police work?
So I got in late.
Really?
My dad was a cop. I grew up around cops. Like I loved it. Got married.
Okay. Yeah.
Wife was not as much into like, hey, the police world, and said, nah, I don't think that's gonna be the way to go. Actually, so I was in college, freshman in college, 1991.
Okay.
Freshman in college, Lock Haven. My roommate said, hey man, let's take the state police test. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna finish school.
Yeah.
He took the test and like retired 10 years ago, of course, now. Like now I can live large, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So I got into it late. I was doing some other stuff after college, teaching a little bit.
Okay.
Actually doing tree work, which is crazy. Got back to Wyomissing, where my dad was a sergeant for like 30 years. Took the police test and it worked out. So
no way.
Back like my hometown where I grew up, where he was a cop. So yeah.
So was it pretty much your buddy? You didn't really have an inkling to go into police work before that, or you were kind of interested?
I was definitely interested.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I don't know. But to be honest too, like having a dad who was a police officer, I was kind of like pushed away a little bit too. So early on, I was like, anti-establishment. Like I'm not going to be into that stuff.
Yeah.
Like defines me. Weird stuff. So
yeah. Rebel against the system.
Yeah. But then when I started realizing like, it's in my community where I live. So it's okay. I want to be part of this community. I was always a volunteer firefighter. So I was in the first responder stuff. So yeah, it kind of naturally just fell into my lap. Then I was like, you know what? This is for me. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
Dude, right on. Did you have to do the whole like getting tased and pepper sprayed thing?
Pepper spray. I got tased, but not tased like some of those crazy departments shoot you with a taser.
Oh, yeah?
So we actually hook them to like your shirt, either side of your shirt.
Oh.
And then you just get, like it tases you. It still zaps you.
Is it still hitting your skin though? Or is it through your shirt?
It's through your shirt enough. So
okay.
You know what? Because they definitely put on I'm trying to think, there's alligator clips. We stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Like so in 2008 when I got hired, I was the last one to get tased.
Oh, they don't do that anymore?
No, not at our department.
That's kind of lame.
I know, it is very lame.
That's like a rite of passage.
I know. It's like it used to be the person who just got tased gets to tase the next person.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. So we couldn't do that. So yeah. But no, we got pepper sprayed. Yeah.
I hear that's worse than tased.
People say that. I got to be honest, so I don't like tell my secret here, but in the academy, like I was the first guy to spray a cadet. So one of the cadets is first, and he's just staring at me with his eyes open. I just keep soaking him. I'm like, look at this idiot. He's just smiling at me, and I'm just soaking him, right? And he goes crazy. Like it blows his mind. And then like it's my turn. As soon as the guy sprayed me, I was like, I acted like it killed me like crazy. I was like, I got a little bit, so this dude got a lot. So it hurt, but I don't remember it as like horrible.
Yeah.
But some people, I think, and that's in real life, it affects some people more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally pepper, so it's like
in your
burning
eyes.
in your eyeballs, right? Yeah. So like, when you get a little bit in your fingers. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I don't know what's worse.
Dang.
I don't want to get either. So
yeah. See, my buddy had a taser. He came on here, and I was telling him how I've always had this like. Maybe you feel this as well. Do you have this like I need to know if I can take this type?
I guess. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I have that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe because I have too comfortable of a life. It's too good.
So like tase me.
Yeah. So I was telling him, I was like, dude, I would love to get tased sometime. And he's like, I got a stun gun in my truck. And I was like, no, you don't. I was like, frick. So he went out and just fell to the ground. It was hilarious.
Man.
But I still haven't got pepper sprayed. I want to do that, but I have a acquaintance of mine just signed up for the state police.
Okay.
And he said that when he got pepper sprayed, it was bad because I don't know what they're using over there, if it's like horse grade pepper spray. But he said every time he would cry, then it would like reactivate.
Well, that is the thing. So it keeps, you have, they gave us stuff as like special soap.
Okay.
That was like deactivates it somehow, or, some kind of counteractive, like, what am I trying to think, like anti-venom thing. Yeah. Like that, is opposite. So it's better. Yeah. And that's what happens as you keep winking and it's in that mucous membrane, it just never goes away. So
because he was saying too, he's like, I took a shower that night, and
Yeah.
I guess they didn't give him that soap, and it just
Got it
reactivated.
again,
And I was like, oh man. So me and my buddy, the one guy I started this podcast with, we were going to do it, and it was like in the middle of the week, and then I heard about that story. I was like, dude, I need to go to work tomorrow. Like, I need to be able to
like
do
calling
this.
in sick.
Talking to customers, you're just tweaking out. But no, dude, that's wild. Now, I'm jumping around a little bit here. Going back to your dad, with your dad being a cop, was it a pretty strict household?
I grew up in the 80s, right? So like,
Nothing was strict.
No, it really wasn't. Like compared to today's world, like he worked, he worked like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Okay.
So, my stepmom was around. I wasn't really strict. No, I mean, there was rules, but kind of like it was a different respect level back then.
Yeah.
Like, we got the wooden spoon in the belt early on. So like you
Yeah.
learned a lesson. Like, see,
Oh,
you
dude.
stayed in line. It wasn't super strict, like militaristic, like because he was a Marine too.
Oh,
So
double
like,
dose.
Right. But coming back from Vietnam, he really wasn't big, like military guy. I think it affected him more than he let on, So it wasn't crazy strict. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's right. Because even I hear a story of this that like, so my dad, belt and the spoon, and then mom, we would get these branches. She's gonna be ticked when she hears this. that I'm out and are on this. Like pussy willow branches.
Yeah.
Dude, they had like that flex to them. Oh, they were so.
But
painful.
you learned your lesson, right?
Absolutely.
And then
I'm 100% an advocate for spanking.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I was a tard back in the day. And like I'm still a little bit of one, but I straightened out pretty good.
Right.
Where was I going with that though? Talked about your dad. Because my dad and I even have this older friend of mine. They grew up in the 80s. Dude, sounds like the pinnacle of a fun time.
It was like I it's hard to say because I'm sure every generation thinks that, but it was like I don't know. It just felt safe. Like I could do things. I was much more comfortable doing things then.
Yeah.
Hanging out in the city of Reading, playing tennis till midnight.
Is that where you lived, Reading?
Outside of Reading. So why missing? Still where I live now.
Yeah.
But you go right up into the city, and they had like tennis courts at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Like we'd play tennis after work till 11, 12 o'clock. Never thought about crime. Never worried about crime. So maybe that was being naive. I don't know. But either way,
I think every kid is a little bit, but that's all right.
But it was definitely a fun time to grow up. Like fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my one, I would love to get him on the podcast. He grew up and just lived the ultimate like bachelor bad boy life.
Yeah.
He would tell me he was always getting in trouble. And in his hometown, I think he grew up in Shillington.
Yeah. That's right by why I'm missing. Yeah.
Him and his buddies would drive dirt bikes on the road all the time. Very much of a menace. On Thursdays, I guess, like every one Thursday a month, you could put like large items out to the trash.
Yeah.
And the garbage would come by, pick them up. Him and his buddies would get refrigerators, spray paint them black, get the cops to chase them, put them in the middle of the road at night. They'd know exactly where it is, go around
try to
it.
get them to run into it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And it's like, how did you not do jail time?
I know,
Like,
right.
The stuff he told me, hilarious. Now, talking to a cop, I got to bring it back a little bit.
That's all. He's all, in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now, with you becoming a cop then, like, no one likes the cops when they pull you over.
No, I agree.
They're like,
Look, I get that. I tell people all the time, like,
dang it.
arrested some guy today. Like, literally
No way.
arrested a guy today and said, like, I get it. Like, people look at us and think one thing, and I get that you prejudge us and all kinds of things. And that's cool. I get that. I don't pretend it's not real.
Yeah.
Like, I get you think one thing, and, like, it is. I mean, we're human beings. We're trying to do a job, but people don't always think positively. Like, they're worried.
No.
They're nervous, right? Like,
Yeah.
I still, when I'm driving my car and see a cop behind me, like, oh, man, what'd I do? Like, look at my speed limit. Like, I get that. Like, it's just a reality of life, right?
Yeah, I think that's like, and then I was talking, I forget who I was talking to this about, but I was like, no one likes being reprimanded.
No.
And it's like, but it has to get that, like, I hated my parents when they
Sure.
spanked me, but they did it for my good. They were in
Correct.
place
Yeah.
for my good. And then you just kind of have that, I don't even know what the word is, like between, yes, they're a necessary thing, but if you keep acting like a doofus,
Yeah.
well, you're going to get nailed at some
Right,
point.
and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully that learns, like, again, the point of discipline isn't to like punish you; it's to put you back in the right path, right?
Yeah.
So it's part of the deal.
So, dude, I didn't know you were like straight on active duty. Like you arrested a guy today.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you. I was like,
human trafficking thing. Actually, crazy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
So it was a case that came to us. We had a 17-year-old victim who had been like groomed, and came to us, and
no way.
yeah.
Whoa. And that's now. So your jurisdiction is just Berks County. I'm not super familiar with the area.
Right. So like I work for the Wyoming Police Department, but I'm part of the Berks County Human Trafficking Task Force, and then cross-sworn federally for Homeland Security investigations.
Oh.
So then we like work in other counties too. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
It's cool. It's uncool. That like it's,
right. Yeah, no, it's a shame. It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that you don't think in 2024 in Berks County and Lancaster County, that this goes on. But
is it a larger problem? Well, I'll follow it up with this first. In Lancaster County, very safe area generally.
Sure. Yeah.
The Bible Belt of the East Coast.
100%.
I feel like a lot of people don't actually understand the grittiness and the we'll call it evil because it is that actually goes on. Like, would you say that Lancaster County and the areas that you surround, it's a very prevalent thing here, the sex trafficking?
It is not like how you think in a movie.
Okay,
not like Taken, not like not like white vans kidnapping kids and forcing them into sex trafficking and sex labor kind of stuff. But no, it's very prevalent because it's about money. It's about money, and it's about like in today's world, you had people who were in the drug industry and made money. You know, selling drugs is one thing, but when I sell it, I got to replenish it and sell it, and like it's a. But unfortunately, for a human being, they can sell multiple times over and over, and it's about money. Most crimes are driven by money, and so it's very prevalent. It's again not on the surface. Most people, thankfully, don't know what's going on, but then that's the thing we're constantly fighting because people think this isn't real. Like this is like it's a government conspiracy saying that we have sex trafficking. And, and then you hear people say that stuff. They're like, it's political, but it's horrifying. And you're right, evil. Evil's a good way to say it. Like it's just evil. Like when you deal with this stuff, it's just you feel dirty, you feel that evil, and it's horrible.
How do you? And correct me if I'm wrong here, but like as a guy, how do you distinguish that part in your brain? Because I feel like even growing up, you watch the movies that glorify the cops and like it's such a cool thing to like gun someone down, fight. Which I think it like in every male at their core, I believe there is a bit of like that aggression that like let's go get it.
Right.
But how do you distinguish that emotion from then the sobering fact of you're dealing with crime, sex trafficking, people getting, and you're not like you said, not necessarily abducted, but like how do you deal with it? Like? Does that mess with you?
It does. It completely 100% messes with you. And there's times that are like, it weighs you down, and there's times it doesn't. That's kind of where like biking came in. Yeah. Like riding my bike, I'm like, listen, I can come home from a day's work, and the last thing I want to do really is get on my bike, but I go ride my bike, and 10 minutes later I'm smiling. Yeah. And just forgetting about it. And just looking around and saying, wow, it's beautiful. Like, just get out there in some headspace. That's good. But it's not easy. And it's tough. Like, people going through this, it can beat them down. It can beat them down because, again, you don't want to realize what's going on. You don't want to look at the horror stuff. Like, I look at other people sometimes, their jobs, I'm like, wow, everything's cool. Like, they're doing fun stuff all day. It's not evil. And like you said, when the evil thing is true, and it wears on you. Honestly, it can get heavy sometimes. So I think it's a fine line, and certain people can handle it better than others. Yeah. In my field, a lot of people go the bad route. They get alcohol and other bad things to do it, and that's not going to help anything, obviously. So you need some kind of working out, like riding your bike, doing something to help.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And talking to other people who understand the same thing. And just being around good, right? Yeah. Fight the evil with light and good stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
because even one time, and I'm not even dealing with like evil at this point, but we were working a job. I'm a plumber. Okay. Or I was, and now I messed up my shoulder. So I'm still in the plumbing industry, just in the office. And working a job, it was late on a Friday. Job went totally sideways. Customer, quite frankly, was a tard. Just a little bit. Yeah. And you just like, you're done. You're frustrated. And there was a bar right across from where we were working, and I seen all these guys after work gone into this bar, and in that moment it clicked for me, and I was like, holy smokes, I totally get, because I was just at my wit's end. And it was so weird because it was a long drive home. I didn't even want to travel home. I was just like, dude, 100% I can see how guys just go to the bar,
Yeah, they need
hang out.
Yeah.
And there too, I feel like it's that place where you can kind of push your worries aside. You're with other people that are probably doing kind of the same deal, and misery loves company. Like when you're miserable, they might be miserable.
Yeah.
There's big camaraderie in misery,
right,
which
you're
is
right.
insane.
Yeah.
But then to your credit, you said too, like the biking thing, there's camaraderie in misery physically. Like
Right.
if you put
Yeah.
yourself through suffering with other guys,
Yeah.
I feel like you build a very strong bond there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's
Yeah, we have, there's a group of us, like every Thursday morning we get together at the football stadium and
Really?
run stairs, and again, just kind of the punish yourself, the
Yeah.
way, like the, that physical like beat down, that camaraderie that comes.
that's
is-
so cool.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. Like
And
you
how
start
old
doing
are
it.
you, Kevin?
53.
No way. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, I feel like 53
Yeah.
a lot of times. Might not always look it, but I feel it a lot of days. So yeah.
Yeah, because right now, even with you mentioning that, so my wife is expecting in February and got pudgy from being in the office, not doing
Yeah.
anything. And I was like, what am I doing? I was like, look
Yeah.
at this. What's
Yeah.
happening here?
Yeah.
And then a guy came on here that did the 75 hard program.
Yeah, a couple guys who
And-
did that. Yeah,
So he did that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then I looked up, and it was like 75 days from that point till my wife's going to give
wow.
birth. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
You're doing it?
And then I rallied a bunch of like good dudes with me, and they're doing it. Like I roped
Nice,
them into
man.
it. Dude, it's so fun because even though we're not working out together, it's like
Right.
someone else is going through it with you. And I'm like,
it makes it so much better.
oh, dude, yeah, because I have the highest motivation and the lowest discipline.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's freaking go.
I think that's most people, right?
Yeah.
Like you wake up, your alarm goes off, you're like, nah, snooze.
Yeah.
I don't feel it today.
Oh, but the
Yeah.
night before you're getting
Yeah.
amped up, and then you.
That's cool.
Yeah. So no, and that's been so fun, and I think it's just that which I want to kind of formulate with even this podcast, just like good guys hanging out, doing life
Yeah.
together, and bringing each other up.
Yeah, 100%.
It's so
and that's what you need. I mean, again,
Yeah.
so, and especially the male world, right? Like it's driven, like I can handle it myself. I'm macho. I can't
Yeah.
say I'm struggling. I can't. And I think that's what, like, mental health awareness in today's world's big, and in my field it's big now too. So we're understanding like you got to get together with like-minded guys who can kind of, build each other up and handle some of
Yeah.
that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with that too, it's so weird because I don't know where you fall on this, like politically, but now we're in a world where it seems like demasculizing
Yeah.
men.
Yeah.
And so then you have that kind of downfall as well. And then even if you just look at it from a statistical standpoint, like testosterone in men is down like 30% since
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know, right?
you're still
Yeah,
rolling.
Like, aren't these with like crazy hair sticking out their chest anymore?
Yeah, like my brother-in-law, dude, he was like 11 and was sporting a full-blown beard. I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I shaved at 10 years old. I was like, what kind of mutant are you? But yeah, and just stuff like that. And it's just statistically, like, I think we still desire that as men.
Yeah.
And like, to find that out is huge because I think, yeah, like you said, then you can turn to the darker stuff.
Yeah.
And even with me, like I love having a good time. Like I can be a goofball. Like
Yeah.
I'm energetic. I love that. The world couples that with the drugs, the alcohol,
yeah,
the partying,
Yeah.
and boy, does that entice me.
Yeah, right.
Like
Entices
it's
anyone. Like,
oh, it's so
the dark's
it looks
always good.
so
Like,
cool.
yeah,
It's
right.
just like
Yeah.
And dude, I struggle with that. But I think how you combat that is you still have the camaraderie because let me back up the camaraderie at a bar or like a party place is very strong.
sure.
Like if you're drinking and another guy's drinking, you guys are pals
Yeah, right.
immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when you like remove yourself from that, I feel like you still need that camaraderie. You still need those guys to walk alongside you in your life. And then it's okay, like how do we do it in a constructive way?
Right. 100%.
And the thing too, it's easier to go the party route.
Oh, certainly.
You don't need to wake up early. You get
Certainly.
to stay up
Yeah.
late. Like you get to do all the things, still experience those dopamine hits and
Yep.
everything, but you don't need to get up early in the morning. You
Yeah.
don't need to do this discipline regimen.
Right. No
of-
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way easier.
Yeah, which I hate responsibility.
Don't talk
so-
me into it, man.
I know. So I don't even know how we got there, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we did. We're talking about the police. Dude,
Yeah.
can I go into the undercover thing?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So How long into your career until you were undercover? And like walk me through.
Probably 9 years in patrol.
Okay.
Early on, like, so I got in police work like at 36. I was like 36 in the
academy. Wow.
36 in the academy with like 20-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was, but more mature, and I was kind of like, hey, like, let me find my niche. What could makes me stick out? And I like making arrests. I like making drug arrests, and I'm like, early on, like, what can make a difference? Like, I want to see what can make a difference. If I stop drunk drivers, hey, they could have hurt themselves or someone else. So that kind of gave me purpose.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't believe in today's world we're going to arrest any problems away, but I'm like, hey, I can do my part. So if I can make arrests, and I got into that stuff and got on the drug task force early with the county and was doing a lot of drug warrants and working with the other special units there.
Really?
Yeah, and then realized, again, just like everywhere else, there's these problems all over. And our chief at the time was like, hey, we're going to create a detective spot, like a street detective or vice detective, we call it, like in police world. Again, vice has always been like gambling, drugs, prostitution, things like that. So they developed this position just for that, and I applied for it because I was kind of into it. And, yeah, I did that for 7 years then. Kind of did this street crimes vice work and just got into that. So, no, like hardcore, like, hey, I infiltrated the Hells Angels and pretended to be one of them. But, yeah, more like jeans and T-shirt work. Like, you know what I mean? Going to work, doing that, not looking like a cop, wearing a hat, like that kind of stuff, just saying so I could fit in and get involved with sometimes buying drugs, sometimes, like, we were selling drugs and stuff like that, too, to people and different things. So, yeah.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah. It's not like TV makes it awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch, like, Chicago PD, it's awesome. Like, my wife's like, why are you watching these shows? And I'm like, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's not real life.
I can't do that.
That's not real life. Like, you do, like, one of those things, and then you have paperwork for, like, 6 weeks to follow up on it. Because it sounds great that you did this work, but now you have to prove this work, and now you have to, like, take them to court and prosecute them. So, like, that's paperwork. So, like, honestly, in today's world, being a cop's like writing novels. Like, you're constantly typing. Right, yeah. So understanding English, understanding how to write, and
how fast can you type?
Not very tight.
Oh, no. Are you still hunting back?
Yeah, man. Like, I had typing back when I was in school. Like, I was that old that I had typing, and I was good, like, getting fast. And then I looked at my fingers, and I was done. Yeah. Like, I was like, just getting fast, and then I was like, oh, man. No.
And then you just peaked.
Nah, I'm done. So, yeah. I make it work in today's world. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. So, where does the government, I guess, or at the local level, where do they get drugs to sell?
Well, it's not like we're doing like DEA and selling stuff. We would do some reverses sometimes. So say like there's a drug house.
Okay.
And you go in and serve a warrant and arrest the people selling the drugs. But then you're just trying to stop, like it's stem and demand kind of thing. So then the drug users who keep coming in, would people oppose as people and sell the drugs back to them. You know what I mean? So they're coming to buy drugs and we're arresting them as they come. Selling them fake drugs.
Yeah.
We're not selling real drugs. Like,
again,
there are some things in the police world where you do that stuff, and they maybe sell large quantities or something like that because, again, they're buying it or selling it. That wasn't necessarily what we're into, but yeah, you do some of that stuff.
Okay, with that, and I don't know if you got into any of this, and maybe this is just total Hollywood BS.
Yeah.
In that line of work, have you ever, like, done something that's sketchy for the greater good? Like, does that mess with you mentally? I don't know if you've dealt with that or not.
No, I mean, yeah, like, again, like, it's great to be in a movie where it's not real.
Yeah.
Right? But it's real. And again, the issues that we're dealing with is, like, the majority of people in society aren't dealing with violence, assaults and stuff like that and those kinds of things. So when you're around that stuff and you're dealing with that, like, that's the everyday real world for, like, true life gangsters in today's world, right? Guys selling drugs, they're around guns, they're around violence. So when you're dealing with that stuff all the time, yeah, it gets to be, there's definitely some sketchy times where you're like, this is a little hairy and it's not worth it for what we're doing. You know what I mean? You're sitting in a room pretending to be someone you're not, and you're kind of like, hey, this is getting sketchy now and stuff. So,
no way.
Yeah. So, believe me, I wasn't this person who's like these hardcore undercover guys. We have, in all walks of life, there's guys who are like really blending in. I never did any of that stuff, to be honest. Like, it wasn't, I can be like, I was cool like that. But I wasn't like, that's like, there's definitely people doing that, and that's not me. So, yeah.
Man, but yeah, still, I think the load of, even just like the mental load of that, it has to be immense at some points.
It is. And again, like, you start looking at things more than what normal people will look at. Like, you're walking down the street, no one's working. I'm looking at it like thinking, what's this person doing? Why are they doing that? Oh, see, this is going on.
Oh, so are you like always on guard then?
Yeah, I would say Not 100%. Like
Okay.
some police officers are definitely like that.
Yeah.
They're like hard chargers. Their whole lives like I'm gonna, I don't really get like that. But I'm also, again, I'm paid to be over observant.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. It's not like it's some kind of magical thing. I'm just over observant. So when I see something, there's a reason for it. I'm trying to think why.
Cool.
So that does happen a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'll see something going on, like I can tell what's going on there. Like something more going on. So yeah.
That's kind of a neat, but that's almost a burden then too.
Yeah, and
That's so weird because then like a naive person will be able to enjoy life at a higher rate just because they're not aware. Like ignorance is bliss.
No, I agree, and it is. I can see. Me like when someone's eyes are open to it, and they're like, great, now this is going on everywhere.
Yeah.
Or now they kind of go. Public does that.
Mm-hmm.
They hear one thing like human trafficking or sex trafficking, and they think everyone's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Soon, like this person's being sex trafficked. I'm like, okay, well, it's not. Someone put $1 on their windshield. Now it's like on social media, they're trying to get fentanyl and kidnap them, and I was like, that's not real. That's not happening. Like that's make believe stuff.
Yeah.
But we get that. Like we get that.
Yeah.
We go that all the time. Like, so, yeah, it can be a burden, but it also can just be good. And I think that's the biggest thing is to put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm. Man. Dude, I'm so excited you're here. This is so
I
cool
appreciate
for
being
me.
here. I mean, it's good.
This is so fun. Yeah, with that, like my brother, he's one where he's much more alert, and like I'm more of the goofball, careless. And it's very cool because it's like, hey, I know he's got my back, but at the same time, he carries a burden that most people don't. And now he's not military or but he's got a family now, and like, if the dude. He should have been in the military because he would have been awesome. But just like even watch his eyes.
Yeah.
Like why everyone's laughing and having a good time. Like he's more just sitting back and observing. And it's like, it's wild. With that, you'll also find this out about me. I have horrible short-term memory loss. I'll have a train of thought and then I'll just forget.
That's good.
But it was an awesome question because I was very curious about it. Anywho, we'll come back to it. I'll figure it out. So with that and being undercover, then did that lead into your like hanging out with Zoe and then doing that race?
So it did. So I'm upstairs in our detective's office and I'm doing street crime stuff and I'm like, you can look at prostitution as just prostitution. And again, like, listen, honestly, I tell people, and I'm not lying, like a lot of cops, especially old school cops, just think they're prostitutes, they're hookers, whatever. Yeah. They're just whatever. They look on them in a certain way. And then we had a couple cases, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what it looks like. Like, these women aren't doing this necessarily on their own.
Yeah.
And again, so now there's drug dealers who, if they're driving around their car with drugs and cash and get pulled over by the police, obviously busted. No way to hide it. Oh, I got a ton of cash in my car. How am I going to say that's legit? So they're like, what else can we do to make money? So what if I'm driving around 3 girls that I'm making have dates, as they call them?
So they're like a pimp,
basically.
Okay,
but yeah. So they're that old school, yes, pimp.
Yes.
Now we call them trafficker because it's a little more than just a pimp. Like a pimp might just be like, hey, he manages girls and stuff. But these are a trafficker is more like there's more being forced into it. So again, or keeping things from them. They'll keep their IDs, right? So if you don't, imagine not having your ID, like you need your ID for a lot of stuff. So they'll like, hey, I hold on to your ID, or I hold on to your, now not passports, not that big a deal for most people, but hold on to their belongings and make them have dates or have sex with guys, and then they collect the money. They provide their basic needs by giving them food, clothing, and things like that. But they're withholding all the money and they're withholding stuff. So now these guys drive around with 3 girls and get pulled over. It's like, hey, these are my cousins, my friends. Yeah. So it's different. So I said, we started seeing like this is going on. And I was like, I can't believe this is going on. And then I started realizing, hey, if there's a hotel, it's probably going on. There's probably women being forced to have sex with men for money at these hotels. Yeah. Nicer hotel, more they can charge. It's not like, hey, it's these seedy motel that's, you expect it to happen. What a nice hotel where they can just charge more money. Mm-hmm. And there's, the demand's huge. So once I realized that was a thing, I'm like, wow, like, I can't believe there's this human trafficking thing. So me and another detective start this Berks County Human Trafficking Task Force with some other guys, and we start doing this stuff. And then Brad Hortensi from ZOE comes down and said, hey, he was a police officer in Lancaster County.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He was a police officer in Lancaster County, a detective who did internet crimes against children stuff. So he's doing like, horrible stuff, honestly, like computer stuff where like children being, sending images and just horrible stuff. So he was working on that. He retires from police work and goes work for ZOE. Goes to Thailand for 5 years, then comes back to Lancaster County, still working for ZOE to try to work on the East Coast ZOE. So there's ZOE in West Coast in LA, and there's East Coast ZOE here in Lancaster. So he jumps back in with the Human Trafficking Task Force in Lancaster County as a coordinating kind of person. So so then he comes down and he sells ZOE services to our task force. He said, hey, listen, we can be a non-governmental organization who helps you out by providing things you can't provide. So again, we're all cops, right? We're attorneys and stuff. We can arrest people. We can do that. But what about victims or survivors that we pull out? We want to do something for them. And in my heart, I'm saying, I'm going to do something for you. And I say, I'll take care of you and I'll get you the help you need. But I couldn't really do that. Yeah. I don't have the wherewithal to do that or the means. So that's where ZOE came in. And Brad said, hey, we're willing to, Zoe's paying my salary. I can be your coordinator. I can help organize when we do stings, when we rescue people. ZOE can have the advocates there and stuff like that. So that was kind of my introduction to Brad. And then I realized like our wives work together, which is crazy.
Oh, no way.
And then we both were bike riders. So like the first time we met, I was like, wait a minute, Brad. Oh yeah, your wife used to work with my wife before they left from Thailand. They came back. And then he's like, oh yeah, ride bikes. I'm like, I'm crazy, ride bikes too. And he's like, I did Race Across America. I'm like, no way, man. It's like a pipe dream. Like, I watched the YouTube specials and all this stuff on it. I can't believe that's insane. And then like he called me a couple weeks later and he's like, hey, dude, would you be interested in doing Race Across America? We got a spot. And I was like, no way. Like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's how that kind of, it all transitioned to ZOE came down and offered a service that we 100% needed.
Gotcha.
Again, in my heart, I'd always tell these survivors or these victims, I'd say, listen, I'm going to take care of you. Yeah. I'm going to get you the help you need. A lot of them are hooked on drugs a lot of times, because that's part of the whole trafficking. Get them hooked on drugs. I'm like, I'll get you a bed in a rehab. I'll get you detox and all those things. And I could only do so much. ZOE can do so much more. They have the contacts.
Gotcha.
They work on that side, and they have these advocates whose hearts just pour out for these survivors. Honestly, like, it's huge. And ZOE is such an amazing organization. So then, I hooked up with ZOE and did RAM. I went to Thailand with ZOE in February. It's
really?
Like, yeah.
Dude, that's sweet.
That's like, and that blows you away. Like what ZOE does and the power behind it, I can't even really describe how amazing it is.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say earlier on.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to the cop thing.
Yeah.
But as a police officer, and you said you were in with, I don't want to call them like lower, what would you call it? Just criminals, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to like bash on them.
They're criminals. Yeah, they are.
Does that give you, I feel like having that job though, maybe you can either go one or two ways, and maybe you can shed some light here, where it's like, this is evil, or can you come about to like see their perspective a little bit?
I can, and I think, and I try to tell them that, like, to empathize with someone, I'll say, like, and I tell them all the time, like, listen, dude, I empathize what you're going through. I don't fully understand it because I'm not in there. Yeah. Like, again, someone who's a drug addict, it's hard to understand unless in there. I've seen people who are drug addicts, and I get it. Their life revolves around drugs, and it's horrible. Like, it's horrible to see that. So I'll be like, listen, I get it. Like, it could be one mistake you made in your life, and thankfully I was spared from making the same mistake possibly. Like, I'm not above that. I think that perspective helps me. So no, I can. More so than other cops, I think, and that's what maybe sets me apart a little bit. Like, you get jaded because you're dealing with, like, no one says, hey, 911, hey, we're having a great family event here. Do you want to come over and have some dinner? No, they're like, hey, our family's falling apart. Yeah. We have alcohol, drugs, something terrible going on. We've had domestics. Like, you're called the horrible stuff. Yeah. So you become jaded. But I equate that to, listen, man, I was on a trajectory to have all that stuff happen to me too, and was spared. So it could be me sitting there that I'm talking to. So I can look at him as a human being. I can look at him and say, listen, you made some poor choices. I made poor choices and got lucky. So yeah, I think I can do that sometimes. I can look at him more than being like, even when like I don't want to do it, like I know like what they did is a horrible crime. One, as a detective now I have to interview him and like be the one to get them to tell me what happened. So I kind of have to pretend it's okay one way, but I also do empathize a little bit and say, listen, man, I get it. Like, you made a horrible decision. What you did is horrible, and I can't justify and give you an excuse, and there's consequences for what you did. But listen, man, it can happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who says it couldn't happen to them isn't being truthful.
Yeah.
Like anyone can make a mistake. Like, yeah, crazy thought jumps in your head, and you think you have to handle it the way you handle it. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've talked about it on here before, and maybe I'm just. Now you're good, buddy. Maybe I'm just like the scum of the earth, but it's like, dude.
I set that down there.
Yeah, no problem.
Right.
It's like the thoughts that go through my head in a day, they're not all good.
Oh, I know, man. Right.
And it's like some are wild.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, whoa. And then you hear, and I think since we are in that quote unquote Bible Belt,
Yeah.
you generally have pretty good people. And it's like, oh, I could never understand how so-and-so
Sure.
would get hooked on drugs. And I'm just sitting back like, are you kidding me?
I know.
Dude, if I was a Christian, I would be hooked on drugs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you hear, and some of the stories like I hear, they're heartbreaking. Like athletes hurting their backs and getting pain meds.
Yeah,
and again, then you're hooked on pain meds. Now you're done. Like, and that's the thing. Like, no one says. I tell people, there's no one who sets out at 13 to say, hey, you know what? Someday I'm gonna live under a bridge and be homeless and be addicted to heroin. Like, no one says that.
No.
But even the people sitting on the bridge right now who are addicted never set out to be like, hey, my goal is to do this.
Yeah.
it's not what they. No one
does that. No one thinks like that.
Right. But that's what happens. So again, whether they're Christian, whether they're anything, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, people who say like, turn up their nose and be like, there's no way that would happen to my family. They're just lying.
Yeah.
And probably they have it going on.
Yeah.
Like there's someone knows in every family, right, that has issues with that and stuff.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. It's like, luckily, I don't know if it's divine intervention, if I'm just too scared to do it, but like, there's stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I would 100% be in that, like right with you. If I had better friends that gave me drugs, I'd be there with them. Like, it's just like for whatever reason, I was just spared by that stuff. And yeah, it's this crazy thing. And like you were even saying with the perspective, for whatever reason, God given or not, I love trying to relate with as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I enjoy this. And I went down to inner city Philly. This was when I was 18 and was homeless for a week.
Really?
Like, just went down. I was like, I want to know what these people experience.
Wow.
So I went down, bought a train ticket, went down. I tried to wear my junkiest clothes.
Yeah.
I had to take my phone. My mom was livid about this. She's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need to know what this is like. And I had to take $300 with me. That was like her role. She's like, that way, if anything happens, you can come home.
Right.
Fair enough. I ended up giving all that money away.
Really?
But, so yeah, she wasn't happy that week.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. But when you put yourself into the shoes of someone like that, the perspective you gain is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're invisible.
Yeah.
Like, I walk by them.
No, I hear
And
you. Yeah.
like, you're too busy with your day and your big money problems. And I'm just sitting down there, like in a crowd with these people and just people walking.
Yeah.
And it was just such a fascinating experience of, and a lot of the people too. So I talked with a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And like, hey, kind of warmed up to them. Like, how'd you get here? None of them, like you said, was like, oh yeah, I want to be homeless. It was, some people got dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
Some guy said one bad decision at a time.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, and I think there's this stigma around them is, oh, these are horrible people. Like, they're just scums of society.
Yeah.
Trust me, you have your scums where it's like, okay, you're a piece of dirt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's probably things in their past or their dad, or it all stems from something.
Sure.
And I can understand that. But it's like, a lot of these people just got dealt a bad hand. And it's so eye-opening. It was an incredible experience. I'd love to do it again. Now being married.
And going to be a father soon.
Yeah,
Probably not the best.
Probably not the best.
No. But I'm sure it was a sweet, crazy experience.
Oh, it was insane. The amount of stories that came from that, where
I
it's
can
just
imagine.
like, what is happening?
Yeah, we go down to Kensington. We used to go down to Kensington for training.
Okay.
Down in Kensington, Philadelphia, because, man, that's the first place in my life that I ever saw people like shooting heroin and smoking crack. And we'd go up to them after they were finished and do some testing on them. Part of the thing, I was a drug recognition expert, so we'd see people who were impaired on drugs, crashing cars and stuff. So we try to interview people who were on drugs, and Kensington went crazy place, like a different world, like zombies walking around.
No way.
Like living in Kensington, insane. Like I can imagine like living amongst them, because just being there for a couple hours a day at a time, it's insane what you see.
Oh,
like, you see like stuff you can't imagine goes on in real life.
Yeah.
Like people going to the bathroom like right in the sidewalk, and you're like,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of nowhere,
Dude.
and you just pulled your pants down and like
Why not?
did that right there.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, that's kind of weird, but it's completely normal for them.
But just in their defense, it's so hard to find a bathroom. It is. I
guess if you're living, I mean,
because in the
no one wants
cities,
to let you
they always lock the restrooms.
Yeah.
You need and my biggest thing was I didn't eat the whole time I was down there because I was like, I want to know what it's like
to
go hungry.
Yeah.
So I didn't buy anything, so they don't let you in their bathroom.
Yeah.
Dude, there was a couple times where it's like I had to pee on the sidewalk and like wiggle back in this little crevice but yeah, dude, just wild. I was sitting at this bus stop. This is a hilarious story. Sitting at this bus stop, it was dumping rain, probably like 10, 11 at night. I'm reading a book, and I was going to crash there for the night because it had like a little overhang. Bus pulls up, black lady comes off, stammering. You could tell she was on something.
Yeah.
And it was one of those bus stops where it's got like the big glass blocks where you can kind of see what's behind it, but goes around. I'm not really thinking anything of it. Comes back around. She's like, man, I just had to pay. And I told the bus driver, let me off. Sits down, and I was like, oh, okay. Meanwhile, this is like, I'm a sheltered little conservative boy. And she's like, my effing boyfriend didn't hold the bus for me. Pissed at her boyfriend, starts cussing him out. And I'm just like, oh my word, what is going on? And she's like, hey, you pretty cute. Starts rubbing my leg. And I'm like, dude, I said, I'm good. She's like, oh, whatever. Gets a beer out of her purse, cracks that open, proceeds to tell me she just snorted coke on the bus, and just...
Different world.
I was like, dude, I'm not sleeping here.
Different world.
Dude, it was. It was insane.
Yeah.
But, I also met some of the coolest people where their story would absolutely, like, floor you. This one guy, straight up homeless, and his biggest thing, I was walking by him, and I had $100 left in my wallet from giving money out to the other people where I, like, talked with them, had a good conversation, but I wasn't, like, I was trying to be perceived as homeless. So the guy's like, hey, like, do you got any money? I was like, I don't, man. Started talking to him. He's like, here, take this thank you card anyways. With the money he gets, the leftovers, he gives thank you cards to the people that give him money.
Yeah.
Dude, that
thoughtful,
rocked
thoughtful,
me.
Right, yeah.
I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
So talked to this guy, phenomenal dude. Just like hung out with him for like 30, 45 minutes, just hanging out. And just like a humble, like because you can get jaded, like you said, and like, oh, these people are dirt.
Yeah.
And then you meet someone like them, and it's like, oh, dang, I got to check myself because this guy has nothing, and he's still giving
back. Yeah.
It was incredible. But then he told me that night, he's like, dude, he's like, where are you sleeping tonight? I was like, I don't know. I kind of just walk around. Hindsight 2020, stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
He's like, do not go 3 blocks north. He said they will shoot you because you're white.
Really?
I don't know how to tell my north from south. Yeah. I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah, just please tell me the street name or something, not north.
But yeah, just crazy. Yeah, when you break it down to its simplest form, at the end of the day, everyone's people. They're fallen people, just like me and you.
Yeah, and so you have to kind of be able to relate to really understand what's going on, or you can just be a jerk and not, and be like, look down on people and think that you're something different. But at the end of the day, everyone's the same, really. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know how people do that, because sometimes, like, I'll do that obviously because I'm human,
right?
And then generally God has a good sense of humor, because then that same day I'll like struggle with the same thing. I'm like, dang it, what am I doing?
Smack him upside the head. Say, wait a minute. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's a wild thing, and I think we do need to expose ourselves almost to that a little bit more, obviously in a healthy dose. Like, we don't want to do stuff that's dangerous. But understand that, hey, yes, there are criminals out there. There's 100% quote unquote bad people.
Yeah.
But there's also people out there that are, maybe their mother was doing drugs on utero.
Sure.
They were dealt a losing hand since birth.
Right.
And there are people like that. It's just hard to distinguish. No. Because even too, like, I talk about like the right wing, like Ben Shapiro's, Charlie Kirk's, like them. I like those guys, but at the end of the day, it's like you're just kind of a bully.
Right.
Like, you just thrash the left.
Sure.
And it's like, are you actually wanting anything to change, or do you just want to make fun of these people?
Yeah. They don't come up with any solutions, just complain.
But then I totally get it as well, because it's like, dude, if you got to put up with that day in and day out,
I guess
you're going to get a little grumpy.
I guess.
Like,
yeah.
So it's just this weird balance to, I don't know, mental is like, I feel like that's like 90% of the fight.
Yeah.
But.
Hey, right on.
Yeah, I don't know how we got there. But
nice rabbit trail.
Yeah. Speaking of mental and physical, so you were saying kind of a little bit that you did this bike race with Zoe.
Yeah.
And I watched that documentary, which was awesome. I was not expecting the guys to be as old as they were.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I think, you know what it comes down to, and even like the funny thing in the bike world, like, so triathlons.
Yeah.
Triathlons are like that middle-aged thing.
Yeah.
And for middle-aged, like, middle-class white guys, because they have the money and time.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. So to put as much training into it, I think that's where you get the older guys. 'Cause
Gotcha.
again, like,
that makes sense.
so again, like, you know, you're going to be a young father. Like, man, when I had young kids, this would be tough. And we do have a couple of young guys on the team who have some young kids. Now, this year we have two that have one that has much younger kids.
Okay.
So it's tougher for them. Like, to get training in, like, you know, I'm lucky enough my kids are all adults now. I still can get up at 5 and train, but I don't have to get up at like 3:30 or 4. And those guys are getting up at like 4 to get to get a full hour and a half in before they have to start getting their kids ready for school, and that can be a lot. So I think that's what surprisingly gives the age a little more, like, that there's guys who are a little older because they have the time and the wherewithal to maybe get a bike and do this stuff and do some of the stuff that comes with it.
For obviously the people who are listening, what was the bike race for? Like, what's the goal of Zoe with this bike race?
Sure. So Race Across America basically is the hardest endurance race there is, but it was also, not only is it an endurance race, it's designed to fundraise for charities. That's what it's for. They give you the platform to say, hey, here's an insane race that most people will be like, you're insane to do. But because you're going to do it, use the platform to raise funds.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
No, yes. So Zoe's like, hey, again, Brad and his wife Lori, when they first came back from Thailand, they decided, hey, they were going to ride their bikes across the country themselves. So 2 of them.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So they did a ride, and they just tried to raise money and awareness. They're going to ride across. Sorry,
you're good, buddy.
They were going to ride across the country. So they just solicited people and they raised some funds. So 2 of them did pretty good.
Yeah.
And raised a lot of funds. You know, Zoe is it's a ministry and it's a nonprofit organization, obviously. So they have to raise money to function. Sure. So he found out about Race Across America and he's like, hey, this platform's there. Let's try it. And without in the top of my head, maybe the first year they raised like, say, $125,000.
Okay.
And then they did it another time and raised more. Than last year we did it. We raised over $500,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the awareness. So you get corporate sponsors and people get behind you. And again, it's a horrible thing to have to get behind, but it's kind of, who's going to be like, nah, man, like, hey, we're trying to fight, you know, child sex trafficking. People are like, nah, it's not for me, man. Like, so it's a good thing. So really, that's the only reason for the race. It is a race, and our goal is to obviously win the race. But really, the main goal is to have good people who raise awareness and funds. Yeah. So that's, you know, Brad and Alan Fisher, our crew chief, he's like, that's what they balance. Like, hey, we want like hardcore racers, but we'd rather have good people who are going to be ambassadors for Zoe and the cause and the ministry, because that's more important than racing. So again, the people who do good get more like press time and stuff like that. You know, the press fans follow you. So if you're doing good, they'll get more coverage of what, you know, and you can,
which obviously you want,
speak about. Sure. So like, you know, along the way we did interviews with different radio stations and TV stations.
Oh, really?
Calling and stuff. Yeah, because the route is the same a lot. So those towns, it's a big deal when the racers come through. And listen, we do an 8-man team. There's like these insane dudes who do solo ram.
Yeah, Alex was telling me about
like
that.
By themselves, like literally, like have bungee cords holding their head up because they can't, like their neck muscles get so weak and they fall asleep. Yeah, so like, it's insane enough to do an 8-person team, but a solo, man. Yeah,
and Alex was telling me their times actually aren't that much slower.
No,
than an 8-man team.
No, it's crazy because they have to. Yeah, they have to balance when they're going to sleep, how long they go without sleep, and they don't sleep full nights normally. It's crazy. Yeah. It's nuts.
Dude.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard this from like long distance runners where, and they said it jokingly, they're like, we don't need drugs because when we're running, we'll literally start hallucinating.
Right.
Did you experience any of that during
Not
the
for
race?
us, you know, because the deal is with the 8-man team and the way we work it. So you're going full gas. So when you're on your bike, you're full gas. So yes, we're not riding it solo, but we're sprinting every time you're on a bike.
Yeah.
So there's no like, hey, someone's leisurely looking around. No, you're on your bike and you're basically sprinting. So if you weren't on your bike, imagine sprinting. So you're not jogging across country, you're sprinting. So every time you go, we try to do 5-mile segments or roughly 15 minutes. So you're 15 minutes full gas.
Okay.
Then if it works perfectly, 45 minutes off while the other 3 guys go, then you're back on. So 15 on, 45 off, 15 on for a 12-hour shift. So, yeah, hallucinating, no, because I think you're just overnight was definitely weird. And I wouldn't say hallucinate. There's definitely times when I'm like, something's riding next to me. Like I can't see shadow from my light because we have, the lights in the front and we have a follow car behind us, but there's nothing in front of you. And I can see like my light on vegetation. I'm like, something's running next to me. Like I'm looking at it. So, but maybe just that, like seeing things that weren't there. But I for me personally, I wasn't that issue. Like those solo guys, they're just zombies. Yeah. There was a dude from Spain. I was so excited. Like, so when we see a solo rider, it's exciting because we pass them because it's unfair. They start and we're rotating, so we're faster in some ways. Some of them we're definitely a lot faster. So you catch up to them, man. I pulled up this next to the dude. I'm like, "Oh man, you're my man! I can't believe you're doing this, bro." Hit him on the back. I'm like, "Dude, you're the man. Go get it. Like, go get something." And he looks over like, "Who is this insane person?" He had like the craziest look in his eyes, and I was like, "Dude, he's not even like there.
This guy's not."
And he literally dropped out. Like we were getting into a town when I finally caught him, and he dropped out of that town. Like,
no way.
It's just, I mean, it's such a beatdown for him. So, and for us, the hardest thing is sleeping. Like, so you have 12 hours you're riding, and then 12 hours you're not riding.
Because it's two vans, two
different
different
4-person teams. So 4-person. We call it day and night. The idea is you do 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then one crew does 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. That sounds great on paper. It didn't work that way last time, so you're all over the place. And when you're off 12 hours. Yeah, if you could just like magically fall asleep instantly and sleep for 12 hours, it'd be great. But you can't. Like, you have to drive to where the bus is. You have to eat. You have to shower, eat, and sometimes showering is like literally like a hose thing. You're trying to rinse off. You're trying to shove some food in. You're trying to sleep in a bus that's driving, and then you got to get up, eat, and get back out there. So the sleep is the worst part.
Yeah. So how many hours were you actually getting a night roughly?
Wow. I mean, honestly. I think I got 3 or 4, maybe most nights sleep. I had a hard time sleeping on the bus. Some people did better. That's the hardest thing. That's what I wasn't prepared for. I was prepared for like the grueling bike part and legs hurting and sore. That was manageable because again we all trained. Yeah. So it's not like someone goes in there. It's not like, hey, I never really rode a bike. I bought a bike and now I'm going to race. So that wasn't the case. Like everyone was either like did triathlons or rode their bikes or something. So that was one thing. The sleep deprivation was just brutal. Yeah. Like a couple guys had 2 or 3 days so they could finally sleep at all.
No way.
Just because they're so whacked, like you're so energized, you're pumped up, you're nervous, you're worried about stuff. It's crazy hot in the beginning in California desert, like 120 degrees.
No,
at night, like the hot breeze at night, like instantly drying you out. Like that stuff, you're just hard to prepare for. Yeah. Like how do you train to be unless you have hair dryers all over you while you're riding? Like, try to figure it out. But yeah.
In the garage with just kerosene.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I like ride in my basement with the heater, trying to do that, but still, yeah.
Yeah, which when I saw it on the documentary, I didn't know that either. You ride stationary for most of your training, right?
Yeah, so most of it's nicer to be able to go out and just ride, but the issue is when you're trying to be certain watts. So training's based on watts. How many like output watts or how many like your outputs or your watts. So
I'm assuming that's just like a metric for energy.
Probably.
That? Okay.
Yeah. How much energy you're pushing on the pedals.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you put your power out your watts. So like, there's a functional threshold power where you supposedly can ride this hard for an hour straight. And then you base your training on that. Whatever that FTP we call it, functional threshold power. Like that FTP is like.
So you guys are nerding out on this.
Dude, crazy nerded out. Like, I mean, like crazy nerded out. Like the text message group goes on like, hey, my FTP is this and I need to get it to here. So your training's based on that. So when you're on a stationary bike, you can maintain that. I can stare at the screen and make sure my watts are here. Because my training will say, hey, you have to have this many watts, then you're going to go to here, then back down, then here, then back down.
Gotcha.
And you do intervals. On the road, you have stop signs, cars, hills. On the trainer, you have just the trainer. So, yeah, most of it, unfortunately, is like staring at the trainer, sweating on the floor. Yeah.
I feel like that would be brutal.
It is horrible. Like, it's the worst part because, I mean, like, when you're on the road, you can stand up, you can do other things. Yeah. When you're on your trainer,
you're just there.
You're pedaling. Like, you can't coast. Like, Pennsylvania has hills, which are some people hate, some people love. It's awesome because it might be tough going up, but you can fly down it and coast. Well, there's no coasting in a trainer, so you're pedaling. Oh, so it's usually like an hour workout, and you're just full gas, or some days easy, but you're
just looking at your furnace.
Yeah, staring at nothing. Thinking about how much it stinks, and I don't want to ever do it again. Yeah, really, that's what it's like. So yeah.
And how long do you need to train your body for an event like this?
I think like 6 months. Like most guys have 6-month plan to start to get ready. I think training for most of us, again, most of us ride year round. So you're training all the time, but focus like, hey, I need to focus. Like my goal is, January 1st, that first week of January, races in June. I'm getting back to my solid training. Like I usually take November, December, kind of ease off, kind of ride when I want to ride.
Yeah.
But most,
more leisurely.
yeah, right. More say, hey, got some friends. We're going to go out and go to ride for get some coffee, get some breakfast. That's one thing.
That's so cool.
But once January comes, boom, it's like training has to be like,
Let's
hey, today's an interval day. Got to do intervals. Tomorrow might be a rest day, then intervals. Yeah.
Dude, I love hearing that you're a bit of in your 50s, still hanging out with buddies like that. That's so cool.
No, I mean, it's a fun thing. So like, and I hang out with like the ride groups anywhere from like, 20-year-olds to like there's a couple like 7-year-old dudes who ride with us still. I mean, the camaraderie of riding is kind of, it's unique. And I think Lancaster and Berks County, this Pennsylvania region, it's a huge group, really. Like there's a whole like subculture of bike riders. Most people probably think, look at these idiots wearing like spandex on the road. Like, get out of my way. Like,
dude. Yell
like at us, like, pay your registration. Like, moronic stuff like that. But no, there's a cool subculture.
Get a car.
Yeah, right, yeah. There's a get on the sidewalk, stuff like that. They yell. But the subculture's sweet.
Yeah.
It's like something about it. It's like, I don't know, I'm not a Jeep driver, but like Jeep drivers giving like the Jeep sign and stuff.
Giving them their ducks.
Yeah.
I was like, what's that about?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But the bike community's cool. So yeah, it's fun. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Now that you got me on that, I'm going to get a little controversial with you.
Yeah.
Why do bike riders think they need the entire road?
So safety. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
So this is the deal, especially these back roads, right? So if I'm riding right on that line, right on the edge line, everyone's distracted in today's world. They are. Like I'm driving to your house here with my GPS, right? So I'm looking at my GPS every once in a while. I'm looking at, the radio, the heat. You're looking around. So if someone's on that side line by themselves and you glance down, you might hit them and there's nowhere to go. Block the whole lane, you're probably going to see me. So in Pennsylvania, you have the right to the lane if there's no shoulder.
Yeah.
So if there's a wide enough shoulder,
it's gray area.
Right. So the legal say is a bike rider has to ride to as far right as practicable.
Okay.
Like it's a weird word, practicable.
Yeah.
But that means like, okay, well, if there's storm grates or there's debris, I can't ride in the shoulder. So it's safer to ride like, that's why we ride two abreast. Again, people hate that. Like, get out of the way. Well, because two abreast, you have to slow down.
Yeah,
and
you're going to see.
You have to safely pass. If I'm on that line, people think I can just pass me, and they brush my shoulder all the time.
No way.
So it's way dangerous. So that's the other issue. Like riding on the roads in Pennsylvania, crazy dangerous.
Yeah.
Riding my bike, so my hobby is way more dangerous than my job. Being a cop.
No
Isn't that crazy?
way.
So I deal with I have a gun every day, and most people I deal with have guns, but riding my bike's more dangerous. Yeah.
Really?
So that's why. So that's a good answer, and most people don't know that. So
I didn't.
Again,
I just thought you guys were snobs.
No, the reality is, you have to give 4 feet. In Pennsylvania, the law is 4 feet to pass a bicyclist. No one does that. People
4 feet beside them.
Right. So
okay.
So now I have to safely look. Right. So if we're blocking that lane, you have to wait till you can see like passing a buggy.
Yeah.
And be like, now I'm going to make the pass. If I'm over there, people are like, I can squeeze by. These darn bike riders taking up the road, not paying registration. Like we don't own cars. You know what I mean? Like pay taxes.
I'm just in this suit every day.
Yeah. Like I don't pay registration on my other cars. Yeah. But no, that's the reason. A lot of people don't get it. And
I didn't know that.
So we're supposed to follow all traffic laws. Look, be realistic. I don't have momentum. So if I'm coming to a stop sign and there's no one anywhere, just like
you're gone.
Just like a lot of people do in cars, they want to act like they don't. I'm rolling that stop
Except
sign.
I don't. When there's a cop sitting in my living room, I don't.
That's the only time. But momentum, right? So if I can go, momentum. If the light's red and I can get ahead and make my right turn, it's safer for all of us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to, sometimes maybe blow that light because I'm going to get out of your way quicker. So all those things happen. But but I say agree. The motoring public are like, I hate these bikers. Cities like Philadelphia hate bikers. Like, again, it's that fine line. Show respect and follow all the laws, but there's sometimes, and that's the reason. So so that's why two abreast. That's why blocking the road. Safer.
I didn't know
safer.
that.
Yeah.
Just thought they were kind of arrogant.
It's insane how many bike riders get hit and killed in today's world. And
really?
Get blamed to say like they're at fault. They'll call it an accident. It's clearly not an accident. A giant tank and me on my bike, I'm going to lose and die.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. So and people just swerve at us, do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's actually very true because I had a motorcycle when I was 17, 18.
Yeah.
And dude, even there, and my biggest thing, I drove like an insane man when I was younger. I had an RX-8, so I was flying.
Yeah.
I was the biggest jack rear on the road.
Sure.
I'd pass you. So, but then when I was on a motorcycle, like people, honestly, sometimes they're just pricks.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they honestly just don't see you.
Yeah.
And then people are like, I'm so sorry. It's like, dude, trust me, I was the worst driver ever. You don't need to apologize, but thank you for not hitting me.
So imagine a bike even smaller.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? No noise. So yeah,
that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest fear, getting hit. Like, honestly, in today's world, and you got to pick your times and place.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, now it gets dark early, so now if you're out there, you have a lot of lights, but still, like.
Everyone's on their phone.
So many people are distracted. Yeah.
Everyone's
And then
on
you
their
add
phone.
stuff like people on drugs or even prescription meds and stuff. They're not like, yeah, it's dangerous.
Dang, okay. So
There you
bike
go.
drivers,
You learn something.
bike riders aren't pricks.
No, they're not trying to do it on
Yeah.
purpose. There's a method to the madness.
That makes sense.
And again, I think it's like any group, right? Like get that out there too, and let people know.
Yeah,
like, hey,
for sure.
I try to do 4 feet to pass safely. Understand that they have the right to the lane. That's why they're there. They're taking the lane because it's safer for everyone and safer for I have people who I appreciate to be nice, but they'll like pass you on a blind hill. They'll go around you, and you're like, you're gonna get head on.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill you. You guys are gonna spin and kill me anyway, so we're all dying.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just hold up 1 second so you can see. And I do a lot of waving people by when I can, and try to like look ahead and be like, hey, there's no one coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, and wave to them. I try to thank everyone who gives me space, but
Yeah. Man. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to repent.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Can't complain about those.
No.
Vipers. Yeah.
Frick. Sometimes I think you just want the bike driver to be a prick.
I guess. Yeah.
Like,
And there's
you just
times,
want- you're
and I
just-
ride with guys who get mad,
Yeah.
and they ride up the bikes and they smash on the window and yell at them. Like, listen, man, I've been there too. Like, like people come up behind us and blow horns and something. That's something different. Roll coal now is a funny thing. Like, fun to watch me. That's just like, you can crash your bike and get and die. Like, it's different if you're in a car. If you're crashing your bike and dying, it's a little different. You know what I mean? Like, people don't look at the big picture.
Honking a horn or like getting close is crazy because then
You're scared.
You're scared. You go out, they nail you.
I know. Yeah, you fall into the road and get your head run over or something. Yeah, it's not like there's no second chance. Like, oh man, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, yeah. I think it's just people are in such a hurry.
Everywhere.
And like we don't have time for this little biker.
No one leaves in enough time.
No,
You know what I mean? Like,
and I don't.
I know. I
So-
don't either. So I'll be like the same way. I'm like in a hurry getting like, come on, people, go.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to get somewhere, and
Dude, this is why we need stuff like this because
That's
I
right.
didn't know.
Yeah.
That's
More
crazy.
education
I was
about
just
biking.
always pissed.
yeah. And I get it. Yeah. And again, listen, just like any subgroup, right? Like sometimes we're our own worst enemies, and when you're blowing stop signs and people don't know, or they, traffic stopped and you're running up behind them, like people get mad about that stuff. They have to understand there's a bigger picture, and maybe
Yeah,
be
but I
nice.
think people are just like, and I'm not talking about the subgroup. I'm talking about like myself,
Yeah.
other people in the car. We're just so selfish.
Right.
Like we're so self-centered.
as
And the crazy
human
thing is, it's just like, how dare this person be
Yeah.
out exercising,
I know.
doing stuff that's
what I'm
good
always
for
like. I
their
would just
health.
think like they're big, like eat lemon bologna, getting fat.
Yeah, as I'm just there throwing Cheetos in my mouth as I
I'm
drive
like,
by.
Yeah. I'm like, that's why you're mean, miserable, and fat.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
Man, that almost makes me sad. Now I can't be mad at those people
Nope.
anymore.
Now
Fair
I
enough.
understand. Now I understand.
Now I'm held to a higher standard. All right.
Yeah.
Did you experience a lot of that with that race where there was like close calls?
Yeah,
Or
there's-
have you ever got hit on your bike?
I had a mirror hit my shoulder.
Really?
That was terrifying, but yeah.
Oof.
Had some real close calls, like real close
Yeah.
calls. And yeah, on the race, that was one of the things that's terrifying, like to want to even do it again. Tractor trailers are like,
Oh, dude.
we're riding day and night, so these tractor trailers are making money and they're going across the country. And
Yep.
there was a couple times where I was like, oh, I'm going to get hit. From 7 p.m. until 7 a.m., we have to have a follow vehicle that's right behind us.
Okay.
So within like 6 feet of us with blinking lights. But some of the terrifying thing is someone could hit them into us, or
Yeah.
they get so bad they pass them and come back on, and we're right there.
Yeah.
Because they like can't see properly. So there were some close calls. There was a couple times where we knew it ahead of time. Some of the guys have done it before. And like, hey, in this section of like Kansas, there's no shoulders. Be careful. The tractor trailers come flying. There was times where I was definitely looking behind me, and we go through an Indian reservation, Arizona.
Okay.
And I was terrified there a couple times. Like I was like, I'm going as fast as possible because I need to get out of here quick and
your
get
route
out.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something too. Even just the wind from a
I
tractor
know.
trailer, it's
Yeah.
nuts.
It's crazy. So you you get used to getting ready for it, right? So you see them coming, you feel them past you, and you get ready for it to come back through. Yeah.
And your bikes, I'm assuming they're incredibly light. Like, does that shake you like pretty heavy?
Oh yeah, huge. Yeah,
Oof.
pushes you as they come by, and then pulls you back in there. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be kind of ready for that stuff. So,
did you ever try to draft anyone when you were doing that race?
well, we're not necessarily allowed to.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so it'd be great to get behind. Yeah, but get behind the truck
Yeah.
and go that fast would be awesome. So yeah.
But that's illegal.
No, well, you know what? You I guess you can, and some teams have tried that. So like on a normal bike ride, like if I'm going to go ride out here today, and you and I are riding bikes, we'll draft each other. You know what I mean? Because I get behind, I rest, you pull me along, and it's crazy how much that actually works. Oh yeah, huge. If you look at pro bike riders, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's about letting someone else do work for you. So some teams do put someone out there, but only one of you is getting timed. But then you're both working hard. So yeah. So normally this race is it's more of a solo race.
Okay.
It's more of your one person at a time out there going hard. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I think I saw in the documentary, does the whole team start the race and the whole team end the race? At least that's how it was.
So that's like a
perceived.
ceremonial start. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Ceremonial start. We all start together, and then we peel off.
Okay.
And then the very beginning of the race, there's a section where you can't follow. So that's the only time two riders ride together.
Okay.
Like the first 15 miles, because it's unsupported. Cars aren't allowed to follow them there, so they can help each other out. There's a breakdown.
Gotcha.
And then that end thing is a ceremonial thing. So the race actually finishes a couple miles up the road, and then you ride to that ceremonial finish together.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun to come
Yeah.
across. Yeah.
What was in that race, is there like a scariest part, or is there like a section of road that's just like, I know they use the term the glass elevator.
So glass elevators usually so that's what they say in Race Across America, and they probably said in a documentary, like races can't be won there, but they can be lost there. A lot of people crash.
Really?
So it's an insane, I think you drop 10,000 feet of elevation in a short distance, so you're flying like 50, 60 miles an hour on a bike. So like hit the brakes, there's cars. So that part's probably the hairiest. Like everyone was kind of nervous for that. I think we all wanted to do it too. Like, well, man, I hope it works out that I get to do it. But yeah, that's probably one of the spots that's like, it's definitely hairy, where people think about like something could happen. And then Jeff crashed, my team, Jeff crashed going down through the Rockies. And there were some fast descents. And there's wind and being on a bike that he wasn't used to and all that stuff. So yeah. So after that crash, like now I'm thinking about things I never thought. Yeah. Like up until that crash, I'm not even worried about it. Now I'm thinking, oh man, am I going to lose it? The wind's blowing like crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I did a bunch of snowboarding when I was younger, but dude, just bombing a black diamond.
You don't think about it.
So fun. That was like my thing. Like I love.
And then you think about
and
you lose it.
Then
catch an edge.
This last year, so me and my buddy, the guy I started this podcast with, love going fast. We clocked ourselves doing I think our fastest was 57.
Wow.
On a board, and it was just so fun.
Until you catch an edge.
Yeah, until someone comes out in front of you.
And you need to plow
Then this last year, now I'm like getting older. I was like, okay, let's bomb this thing. Flying down this black diamond, and then there was a hard banks back, and then it just opens up. So you want to get the speed, and then that way you can. And freaking beginner skiers and snowboarders snowplowed, piled all the snow up. On a ski, you can kind of lift one leg.
Yeah.
I'm on a board. I lifted off, couldn't get stopped, flew right off the trail.
Wow.
Hit one of the snowmakers.
Oh man, that's
right on my back, and I'm just like, the guy said it literally was just this huge cloud of snow, and then I'm just laying there. Dude, my back was wrecked. I was like. But yeah, then you're like, oh shoot! I
did ski patrol for a while. That's how people kill themselves.
You were ski patrol?
Yeah, snowboard ski patrol. Yeah,
dude, you look like. Where'd you live? Were you always local?
I lived in Wyoming growing up. Went to Lock Haven for college and lived in Maryland and Virginia.
Okay,
Charlottesville, Virginia. So there was a Wintergreen Mountain down there. In the Blue Ridge.
You
Mountains.
look like you surf.
Yeah,
you got a strong surfer vibe to you, which is awesome.
Yep. Wish I could do that more, but live in Pennsylvania. So
that's true.
Vacation, Outer Banks vacation. You know what I mean? When I can,
dude. We went down to Outer Banks. Okay, this is going to be a tangent. This is crazy. Went down to Outer Banks this year with my wife's family, and it was the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Did you see the house that gets swept into the ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a house we were supposed to stay in.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Waves were phenomenal, though. Incredible.
Yeah. The Outer Banks gets nice rollers, but nothing big. It's just usually nice formed waves, nice longboard, funboard stuff.
This year, they were monsters.
That's crazy.
And, I don't surf or anything. I would love to pick it up, but we're they are coming way up on the banks.
Yeah.
Huge things. We went Went down to the beach when the house was getting swept in, and at that point they were like over my head. Like I'm saying 9 foot, I don't know.
Right.
Just like 70-year-old dude on a boogie board way out and just comes ripping in on this wave. Dude, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, my friend, are the coolest grandpa.
Living large. Yeah,
dude, so awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nuts. I was like, oh, that's literally our house, and fell into the ocean. But yeah, random tangent.
Nice.
Are you a big action sport guy?
Yeah,
it sounds like
yeah.
it.
So like same thing. So it's funny like to think about like you're gonna be married, young father. Like I was like rock climber, ice climber.
Oh yeah,
growing up and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, where'd you ice climb?
Caving. The Gunks up in New York. Yeah, stuff like that. So like my buddy and I were planning, hey, we're gonna like ice climb the whole presidential range in New Hampshire. Then we're gonna snowboard down and do this stuff and even do Everest someday. But yeah, then I got married and I was like, hey, this stuff isn't probably smart. Like we were rock climbing right after I was engaged one time in West Virginia, a pretty hairy climb. And I was like, maybe I should start thinking more than just myself.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be selfish. Like,
I
got to watch how much risk I'm taking and stuff. So, yeah.
For sure.
But, yeah, I mean, as I got older, I don't have that, like a lot of action sports kind of guys have that, like, thing in their brain where they're not fearful.
Yeah.
I have that fearful thing. So, like, I can't downhill mountain bike and launch off crazy ramps. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm probably going to die. I think about those guys don't. They just go for it.
Yeah,
they have to.
They don't have that switch in their brain.
No, I mean, and that's what you need because you can't do that stuff.
You can't back out midair.
Because if you're like, oh, no,
wrecked.
I'm nervous, you're going to wreck.
Yep.
Yeah. And snowboarding was always my thing. Like, I'd always be like, I'm going to do something crazy. And then at the last minute, I get like, I can't do that.
That's when you destroy yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
did you ever, I'm assuming you boarded Blue Mountain?
Yeah.
You know the big train park when they used to, when snow actually used to land
I know,
here?
right. Yeah.
It was the triple.
Yeah.
And for the longest, like I would always hit those, and the one time just like got a little squirrely, got nervous, and just totally ate it. Messed my back up for like weeks. Had to go to a chiropractor. But yeah, if you have that like
no, you have
fear,
to. You can't.
You cannot have that fear.
You got to commit to those guys. Have a different level of brain.
Oh, dude, it's insane.
Yeah.
But even too like. And I think it's just a sign of wisdom and getting older. But like I used to drive like a nut, and like I there wouldn't be a tank of gas I wouldn't go through where I didn't go over 120. It was just like dumb. Like I'm going to work in the morning, just passing like 6 people, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
But now I'll go like 82, and I'm just like, whoa, what the? Slow down here a little bit.
Yeah.
You lose your edge. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's
right.
God designed.
Keeps us alive, yeah.
Yeah, you got a little bit more responsibility.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and maybe you can speak into this a little bit, I still feel like you need a little bit of that.
Sure. So like the safe, like, the outlets.
Yeah.
And again, that's what like biking, like, man, I love going 50 miles an hour on my bike downhill. But again, there's times where I'm literally going, man, I hope my tire doesn't blow. Like, I hope my brakes, like, you know what I mean? Because like 50 miles on a bike, a little wiggle. And my friends and I talk about all the time, like, we love to do that, but we're always like, that's crazy. Like, if I wreck, it's probably going to be it. Like, is it worth it? Like, it's great, yeah. I'm sitting in heaven, I'm like, I mean, it's awesome now, but like, did it make sense that I lost my life by riding my bike that fast? So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I still think you need those outlets because I think that leads for fulfilling life.
Sure. No, yeah. Can't be too fearful to like to do anything.
Yeah. And I think this is my brain went there, so we're going to go there. Even like, I don't know how people that aren't believers do it.
No.
Because sometimes like when I'm struggling with the Lord, and like there was a time when early on in my marriage where like super questioning everything. Yeah. Dude, driving would scare me because I'm like, I know the truth, but I'm not living by it. I was like, dude, what if I die?
I know.
And then I just got like panicky about everything, which was insane.
Well, I say it all the time now. You have to be fearful. Like, you have to care about the election.
Yeah.
You have to care about politics because there's nothing else for you, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have hope, like, hey, my time on this earth is short, but I have eternity to live and enjoy, well, I have hope. If I don't have that, I should be scared, right? I have to be scared.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's all I have is like, man, oh no, this person got elected. I'm terrified because I don't have any other hope. So that is, you should be scared. Like, unfortunately, you feel sad for people. You're like, man, that has to suck. Like, that's all you got. Like, if this is all you have right now in this world we have now, I guess it would be it wouldn't be fun to be here and horrified.
Yeah, constantly living in fear and like, and maybe that's why. And now we're getting into a little political, which
sure, yeah.
I'm not that political.
I'm kind of like apolitical. Like, I'm like, whatever, man.
Yeah, but like maybe that's why like COVID was such a big thing for people. Yeah. Like they were so scared, and I was like,
because you don't have any hopes. You're like, oh my, I'm die, you know. And now that I'm 53, it was different from 23. Like
For sure.
You start to think about mortality, right? The older you get, you start getting closer to that time is going to happen and you think more about it. So yeah, like, I mean, but then you're just like, hey, just be thankful for the time you had and enjoy. And, you know, it's easy to say. It's easy to say like, oh man, I'm just going to live every day and when it happens, it happens. But as you get closer to that possibly happening, your brain works differently, right? Like you start thinking, wow, maybe I shouldn't do crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm not scared or not looking forward to the, you know, winning the prize, but I don't need to get there right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to get there now. Like, you know, so. Yeah.
And I think the thing is like, and maybe this is maturing. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not the most mature person ever.
Me either, man. Like I'm at like a 7th grade maturity.
Yeah, 100%. But it's not even so much for me. It's like, what would I leave behind? Like I might.
Oh yeah.
If I die, then my wife has to go work and find that, and it's like.
No, I hear you.
So then there's that plays into it a little bit too. I think where it's like, man, maybe I'd like to do this.
I know, right?
But
yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah,
what I like to do. And if I would die, I'd feel like an idiot.
Sure.
Even though I'm dead. Like that was a pretty stupid thing to die for.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right, we're gonna jump here because I said death.
Okay.
Did you ever shoot someone in the police?
No. Doesn't really happen. I mean, that's
really
is
that
no,
a movie thing?
It's very, very infrequent. Like, and again, that's a normal question. So that's like people think that stuff. And listen, it's realistic. Like people should ask questions. When you go to school. Like you're talking to kids, I was like, how many people did you shoot? Like it's not normal. It's not normal. You know, the majority of police officers aren't involved in shootings.
Okay,
which is good.
Yeah, that is good.
That's not the goal. So yeah, no. Thankfully, I haven't had to because, you know, in today's world, that's a tough thing. Like politics and media drive everything. Yeah. So, you know, you can be vilified in the media and be like your life's over. Yeah, and you did everything right.
Yeah, because like they posted a 12-second short, and that's what they're calling.
Someone
news.
Pulls out a gun, and now you're forced to do something. And I was close a couple times, and I remember like really laying into that person and being like, "Listen, both of our lives would have been over, man. Yeah, your life would have been over because what you were doing was insane, and my life probably went over too because of what would have happened. And you put me in that situation for both of us. So like, yeah. So I've been pretty lucky. So yeah,
dude, that's incredible that you haven't had to.
Yep.
Where, if I can ask you this question, like, how'd you come to the decision where it's like, okay, if I need to do this, I can kill someone?
I think you have to. I think the issue is like, literally in the police academy that first week, they bombard you with like every video ever made of a police officer being killed.
Okay,
and
really?
Being like, salt and say like, this is what you're gonna get into. So hey, just so you know, this is what you're gonna get into. This is what you signed up for. This week is like, hey, you want to look back out? Yeah. But if you're going to be a person who hesitates, back out. Like, so they prepare you to say like, hey, this is it. Is anyone ever ready? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you visualize like the military, like visualize what you have to do and what your job is to do. And if you're put in that situation and you have to defend yourself or someone else, you do it, and you can't hesitate. But I don't think you can ever prepare.
Yeah.
Unless you're some like a psychopath. Like, I mean, again, we're human beings. So in that situation, I equate it to maybe like hunting. Like, you know, I mean, if you can kill an animal, it's one thing, and that's a weird feeling in itself too if you're not a hunter to understand that. So I think, you know, so it's hammered into you very clearly like, hey, you may have to take a life. Yeah. And the Constitution says you can in certain situations. So if that's what you can do, you have to do it. If you can't, don't do this job because you're putting other people's lives at risk too. And again, you see that. So that's very clearly hammered home that first week in the police academy. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think at some point, do instincts kick in?
I think so. I mean, survival instincts.
Yeah.
Like, again, they like the mother bear. Like you hear, like, you know, women who a car falls on their kid and they lift the car up, like crazy stuff. Yeah. So I think there is survival instincts that God gave us in our brain to say, and males in general, like, right. That's why men get into this stuff and are in the army and running into the towers as it's falling in 9/11 because they have that unique thing that God put in them to say, hey, you need to step up and do this. So yeah, I think instinct. Like natural things that are put into our brain
and
for a reason.
The reason why I'm asking this is, so like I grew up from a conscientious objective family.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with it. Like I'm wrestling that in my mind right now. And I think where I've landed is I'm too, not mentally unstable, but I'm not willing to just kill. Say I'm out in public. Yeah. And say like I don't have my carry license because I don't think I could actually shoot someone in public. Yeah. But say I'm carrying and I shoot someone in public, A, I'm probably might go to jail.
Right.
And B, the mental load that would take on me, I'm not I'm not willing to take that on for any random stranger.
Sure.
I think where I've come in my own life is if someone comes into my house, which hopefully this never happens, and the probability of this happening is also very low.
Right.
But like if someone comes into my house, I am okay taking their life.
Sure.
But it's going to be to protect my family.
Yeah.
And it is a little selfish, but it's like, I don't think I'll be like that burden will be so hard for me to live with. I'm not just going to do that for anyone.
No, it makes sense. And that's what, unfortunately, in my line of work, that's what people don't get.
Mm-hmm.
Officers who are forced to make that decision, I'm friends with a lot of them that have been in that decision. They don't live the same. Their life is never the same. It's changed because it's a huge thing. And you can prepare for it all you want. And like the military people and the amount of suicide and, we try to get police, like the death of police officers under 100 every year, and we can't. But so, like, there'll be like 160 officers killed in the line of duty. Well, there's 400 officers who take their own lives every year. Because that burden stuff, like that's what you're saying. Like it's great to say I can handle it until you're in that situation. Like to have to take someone's life and then have to live with it afterwards and second guess it and the trauma that comes with that.
Over and
so
over.
Now we're doing better to say, like, again, mental health awareness and saying, how do I deal with PTSD? How do I deal with the stress that's involved with these traumas? It's a big part of our life now and in our world. But yeah, it's tough. Like I can hear you saying, like, it makes sense. It's not something I don't think anyone, again, unless you're some psychopath, to be like, I'm fine with this taking someone's life. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big deal. Even justification. And listen, outside work, I'm not a big, like, carry person. I don't like, even at church, I'm like, hey, will you be in the team and bring your gun? I'm like, man, I have to carry my gun at work. Like, if it's my time, it's my time. If someone's going to really like attack our church, like in the middle of the woods somewhere, and if that's, where does it come into? That's just God's will and those things. So it's weird stuff. I mean, it's horror things to wrestle with. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think, and maybe this is like, and this is why I enjoy bringing other people onto this, because people that haven't lived the life I live or the background I'm from, because sometimes, and I'm so blessed to grow up in Lancaster County to a Christian family, been in church my entire life. At the same time, sometimes you don't make it your own because it's just habit.
Sure.
And I feel like you do need to wrestle with some of these things and unfortunately maybe go against your parents or your church and be like, hey, this is actually, like, I don't actually believe this.
Right.
But yeah, also too, it's like, if you're going to pull a gun in public, you better be willing to fire.
100%. And that's why I tell people, don't have a gun if you can't do it.
B, you better be a darn good marksman, because if you miss and hit someone else, this is going to sound horrid, but like, I don't know if I could live with myself if I would do that.
Sure, right.
And it's like, I'm just not willing to take that chance. I will beat the crap out of someone and like try to restrain them and like do all that. That's fine. Like, I think I've come to a point where it's like, that would be tough for me. That would mess me up mentally a little bit. But like, I'm okay with that because you're not taking a life.
Sure.
Like, dude, when I was like 12, I was like, I'm going to go hunt some birds.
Yeah.
And I got my little airsoft gun. Couldn't find any birds. This is psychopathic, to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you.
Maybe you should have this recorded.
Yeah. Found a nest of baby birds. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to be a man. Shot this baby bird in the neck. Didn't die. Freaked. I panicked.
Sure.
I was like, whoa. I didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, I unloaded on him because I just didn't know. It messed me up for weeks when I was little. Sure. And that's just a little bird. Like, you take something that has a soul.
No, yeah.
Oh.
Man.
And that's the thing, too. I think it's cool because... Or don't clip that. Like, that sounded like I think killing's cool.
Sure.
I think it's cool to bring people on that aren't in the same life you are because, A, one, you probably just didn't think of these things.
Sure, different perspective.
And B, it's just like, oh, wow, no, like, this is... Like, these are life things that we should think about. We should understand to a certain extent and actually realize what other people go through. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me. I'm so stoked you came on.
It is. It's a crazy thing to think about. Like, again, it's something the majority of people don't think about. Yeah. And when people are put in those situations, it's horrible to be in those situations. It really is. I mean, it affects your life forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
Do you, if I can ask this question, do you have any situation from being a police where it's like really weighed on you, even though you didn't have to take someone's life?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's things that, stuff just builds up. Like, you see the worst of people, and you see, like, Like I'm not good with I'm still not good with dead bodies. Like, you know, even if it's fatal crashes and stuff, like just seeing people's lifeless bodies is hard to handle. You know, being a detective now and going to autopsies, that's just horrible stuff. Like,
so that's when they're already dead. Like,
yeah, they get the medical examiner has to do an autopsy on them. So that's just weird stuff. Like, God bless like medical examiners and forensic pathologists who want to do that stuff. Because man, I don't like, it's just it's so foreign.
Yeah.
I don't know. That stuff's weird. So yeah, that weighs on you. Like, I mean, I don't like that stuff. I don't like to see like dead bodies cut apart to be like examined to see what happened to why they died. Like, that's just not my shtick. So yeah, it's weird. And that stuff weighs on. Like, you don't forget that stuff.
No.
Like, you don't forget, like, you know, someone commits suicide and you're at their house investigating it. Like, the situation stays in your brain. It doesn't go away. Like, I wish there was an easy way to be like, hey, I'm no longer thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the stuff that stays with you. And, ooh.
That's the stuff TV and Hollywood doesn't show. Right?
No,
reality.
they don't show.
Yeah. No.
Dude, and honestly, after you hear that, like, it's going to sound a little cliche. Thank you for your service.
Sure. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Just knowing, like, when you know yourself, like, dude, that would mess me up for life.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't.
Yeah.
No, so thank you. That's
certainly. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, man, and it's so, Hollywood just shows the good parts. You just want to gun them down.
Yeah.
And it's
everything's
just like,
cool and everything's easy.
Yeah.
Maybe
you're wearing aviators. Like,
they'll show some movies maybe where, like, you know, there's some hard times, but they always come back out of it.
Yeah.
The hard times cool somehow.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They look sweet, smoking a cigarette and chugging a bottle of Hennessy.
Yeah, going to Bender and, like, you know, come back out of it weeks later and they're okay.
Wearing a tank top or shredded with this nice chain. You're like, maybe if I would drink. What am I doing?
Maybe that's the secret. Smoking cigarettes and drinking.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing, too, just, like, hearing people's story, because it's like, oh, yeah, no, like, our perception of what we think reality is couldn't really be farther from the truth.
No, I agree.
And it's just like, and I think you need to do that with everyone. Like, put yourself in their shoes. I know that's kind of a cliche, but, like, it's 100% true. Like, if you can do that for the people you come in contact with, you just become a more empathetic person. You can empathize with more people, but also, too, you get a better perspective of the world and actually what's going on. Yeah. And you're just a little bit more educated.
Sure, and you care for people a little way. A different way,
Yeah, because that's something that always pissed me off. And I think it was just because I was a rebellious kid. But, like, and it's nothing against them. I'm so glad they didn't have to suffer through this. But, like, my preachers would be like, don't drink. I've never drank. And, like, me being a rebellious teenager, I'm like, screw you. Like, what are you doing? You don't know what this is like. And I wasn't even drinking at the time. But I was like, what am I?
I'm a rebel.
Yeah. I was just like, I draw Sharpie tattoos on my arm. Like, what am I freaking doing? But, yeah, I think, like, when you hear someone that actually has experience with that, it carries a weight and a somberness of, like, oh, okay, like, this is a legitimate thing. It's not just this Hollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you watch Hollywood cop movies and you're like, come on?
I do sometimes. I mean, again, listen, it's exciting. I'm a normal human being, like a normal male. Like, I like action. I like, you know, that kind of stuff. And again, those look cool. Like, I'd be like, man, that's cool. Like, you know, you watch them, like, End the Watch, like a horrible ending to that movie. But, like, it's a kind of, like, you see those bonds and you see things that are kind of somewhat realistic, somewhat not. Yeah. You know, they're obviously made to look way more, like, intense and sometimes. But, I watch that stuff. I like it too. My wife's always, she was like, "Why do you watch this stuff?"
Because this isn't real.
I know, and it's so cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely.
If it was like that, if everything was just great and easy, it'd be great.
Like, a lot of people would
want to
do
paperwork
cops.
and 6,000 tags to put on evidence afterwards. You know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah.
Just do the crazy stuff. Go home and hang out with your friends and talk about how great it was. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Sit around with Dominic Toretto drinking a Corona.
Yeah, that's right. Be like, man, how sweet.
Family.
Just raced cars and somehow like stopped crimes and were cops. Yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
In that, what was I just going? I just had something. Anyways, regardless, we're sitting around an hour 30. You want to take a quick break?
Sure.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
And my brother's a huge conspiracy theorist,
really?
so, like, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, your stuff's, like, ending up on a Chinese server. And I'm like, maybe, but, like,
really, what's the end?
What are they going to do?
They have all my all
what
our
are
stuff,
they going to do?
All our stuff's
like,
compromised anyway.
Oh, this guy's talking
to... If we have
to
a phone, all our stuff's compromised. So,
yeah, dude, okay, now you just sparked that in me. What, from a cop's perspective, like, the whole... Yeah, because everyone's like, the government's tracking me. Is there credibility to that?
Well,
Like, can you find people pretty easily?
There's technology we can use for things, but again, we're all being tracked because like Google tracks everything. So realistically, yes, there is like, Alexa and those things in your house. When you agree to that, you're agreeing to let them turn that microphone on to catch you for marketing.
Yeah.
Quote marketing. Well, yeah, and Google's the same way. So if you have maps that you're following in your car or Waze, all Google products, when you agree to a Gmail address, you agree to let Google turn on your microphone for marketing, for sales. Like that's what, like when you say something, hey, I'm thinking about a new washer, and all of a sudden there's a million things on social media about washers. Right. So you are being tracked. Yes, we can get warrants for some of that stuff, but things are cracking down about how hard it is to get warrants. But yes, we used to be able to like a Google warrant. If there was a homicide at a house, we could get a Google warrant and see all devices that were on at the time of the crime, and then do a warrant there, days before and after, and say, okay, this device was only there this day, so whoever owns this device is probably involved.
Gotcha.
So there are technologies like that. So is the government tracking us? Yeah, in so many other ways. Like our cars are being tracked. You know what I mean? Like so.
Anything with a GPS.
Correct. We're all being tracked. Yeah. And if it's electronic, we're being tracked. So is there things that like in my level I can get to? There's not everything is as much as people think. Like, be like, you should just ping that phone. Well, that's not easy to do because the phones are becoming very protected, right? Because just like a house, like everything's on our phones. It's a mini supercomputer we have. So, so that is an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, like with the whole tracking thing, and do you think like everyone's worried about AI? Like, did that kind of get into the police
I think
work yet?
We're just understanding it ourselves as far as like using it for reports and like make better like reports and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think again I'm 53. Like so, technology is like I'm not like my parents who like got a flip phone and don't know how to talk and stuff. But I'm also I'm a little the older generation there when it comes to that stuff. So I'm not as up on it. And I think like our department, we're not there either. So maybe there's some big departments that are really up onto it.
Gotcha.
I'm not. So I don't understand all the AI stuff. Like we're just changing laws where like, unfortunately, like AI generated child porn, like that's now a crime because it's AI generated. So technically it's not real, but it looks real enough that you can be charged with it. So we have to update laws because of that stuff because there's, again, good things used in bad ways like everything else in life. So 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 to answer your question, no, we're not even close to understanding it at our level, like as a local police department. Hopefully, federally, they're understanding this stuff and they're constantly trying to adapt it to figure it out.
Are the police worried about how AI will influence more crime potentially? Like now, like are they going to be able to do like deep fakes is a huge thing where you can put your face on someone else's body. I feel like there's definitely crime potential for things like that.
Sure.
Where it'll be like, yes, it's easier to catch them, but now it's harder to catch them as well because they're
and that is, I mean, that's realistic. And we use some of that stuff for us when we're doing some of our trafficking details. If I'm trying to be a 14-year-old boy, I can use AI now to regress my face and make me look like that. Yeah. Because, a lot of those things we have to use pictures of police officers. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like it's part of the laws we have to follow. We can't use just canned images we find. It has to be a law enforcement officer or someone who works for a police department.
Gotcha.
So it helps us in those areas. But that's going to, frauds are like the thing now. Everything's fraudulent. Like, you get a text message from someone saying, hey, how you doing tonight? Yeah. It's all just a phishing thing to try to get you to respond to eventually get your money or steal something. So, A's got to make that stuff. The fraud industry is just crazy. Yeah. I mean, the amount of money that's just lost on frauds is nuts.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Huge. People getting, as they get older, senior citizens getting.
Yeah, like all the scams and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's huge. So, AI is going to be interesting. But again, I can do like AI for RAM. I said, hey, give me a 16-week training plan for RAM, and it spits out a whole training plan.
Dude, it's incredible.
It is nuts what it can do and how it works, and you can be like, okay, we'll make it like harder in this area, and it adjusts all that stuff. It's just so strange.
Yeah, we're looking to hire a new guy on our business, and his offer letter.
You can tell. You're like, it's like this is amazing.
Yeah, I was just like, and I gave it garbage. I was literally like stumbling. I was like, oh, give it this training, and beautifully polished. I was like, this is incredible.
I know, it is nice. It can make me sound like I have a brain.
Yeah, like I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Oh, this is a question I had. So have you been keeping up with the CEO up in New York.
Yeah,
Manhattan,
a little
that got
bit.
shot?
Yeah, a little bit.
Why are cameras not like the quality was trash?
Yeah, there's a lot of places that have terrible cameras. And there's a lot of places you wouldn't imagine have amazing cameras.
Yeah.
Like Target, awesome cameras.
Really?
Like Target spends money on their surveillance, or their closed circuit TV cameras. Really good. Other places just not that good. And I think the cost, and somewhere like New York City,
Yeah.
I don't know where that camera was from. I haven't followed it that much. I'm not a big news guy.
Me neither.
Just
So
something
that's-
like, whatever. It's just sad, to hear all this stuff. But I'm not sure where the camera is, but I know if it costs a lot for a camera, so and the quality costs even more to have good quality. So
Yeah.
that's probably part of it. But yeah, I agree. It sort of make our job a lot easier. And everyone in today's world, everyone expects every crime to be on camera.
Yeah.
And have good footage. That just doesn't happen. So
Because I was just thinking, even with like the podcast, so I can do 4K on the
Right,
cameras, but it's the storage.
right. Oh yeah, sure.
So like if
not have a server or something big. Yeah.
like literally for an hour video on 4K, we're going to be up into like 40 gigabytes.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why I was like, oh, maybe it's a storage thing, and not that we don't actually have the technology,
Yeah.
but to store all
It is,
that
and
data.
that's something, like I know our body cameras. It's big. The storage and the server and the cloud storage, that's huge because it can't just be cloud storage that can any way be hacked. Like, so
Yeah.
it's secure clouds. It's like, and everything can be hacked now. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. So like, you have to worry about that. So yeah, it's interesting times with all the AI and the things, how technology is changing and stuff.
Do you experience like hackers and everything? Like, is there cyber? Is it warfare?
Yeah, I mean, we don't, not on our end. We're
Okay.
not dealing with it. Yeah, the feds are dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're constantly dealing with it. The Bitcoin fraud and just different things
Yeah.
and all how that affects things and locking down companies for ransom and stuff like that. Yeah, it's horrible.
I like how you're a police officer that isn't really political. That's
Yeah,
cool
like-
to me.
Like,
I like
know
that.
people don't always like that, but yeah, I mean, like my point in life is I'm not going to get worked up over it.
Yeah.
I think, hey, if people are really into politics, I think we need good people in politics. I think we do. I think we need people who want to make a difference. But yeah, you can just get jaded too easy, and each side listens to their own side and gets worked up even more about the other side. So I'm like, at the end of the day, listen, like whoever was going to be elected president, I wasn't going to lose sleep on
Yeah.
another. Like, was the person I voted for or not? I'll be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
my job's still going to be there
Nothing's
tomorrow,
gonna
and I'm
change,
going to
yeah.
have to go.
Life's going to keep on rolling.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Transitioning to this, because you said this earlier,
Yeah.
and this piqued my interest. You actually went over to Thailand.
Yeah.
For the sex trafficking. Was that it, or you were on
Well,
that?
we were over
or
there
what,
for-
what was your
we were over there for
objective?
Zoe. So what Zoe does is Zoe partners with the Thai government.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they're very involved.
How'd
in
they
stuff.
land that?
The owners went over there originally and just saw a need, and they wanted to reach the gospel to everyone they could.
That's incredible.
And then part of that thing was like, hey, there's some vulnerable kids over here. What can we do to help the government in fighting and combating child trafficking over there? So that's what they do. So there's a whole branch that works with the Thai government every day.
No
and
way.
helps them with investigations, with rescuing kids. They rescue 80, 100 kids sometimes a year, and they
Really?
live on the Zoe ranch compound, whatever you want to call it, like their campus for the rest of their lives if they need to.
Whoa.
Like they rescue them, they restore them, they give them job training, give them education, give them a family that they've never had. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. And when you see these kids, like when I say, like if you imagine in your mind what you expect kids to be like on this campus, I mean they've dealt with, they've been trafficked,
Yeah.
child sex
The
trafficking.
trauma.
But no, man, they're alive. Like they're
Oh, yeah?
passionate. Oh man, like no other church service you've ever been to. These kids are alive.
Yeah.
Oh my word, they're loving life. They love on you. They pray for you. It's
Really?
insane. Like you see that, and that's what you're not expecting, and that's what hooks you. Like these kids are restored to how they're designed to be originally.
Because
it's God's kids. Like they're
yeah.
not like, hey, victims walking around sad, crying, like their life's over. It's like, no, they now understand what true restoration feels like.
Really?
And they're free because now they have the gospel
Yeah.
and they have hope and faith, and it's crazy. I mean, it's insane. Like to see that part of it blows you away.
Yeah.
Like anyone who goes over there, I don't think leaves without being changed to be like, wow, that's some powerful. Like you hear about things and we think, oh, the American church does some things, but over there it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something too. Like, I guess with that, trying to just relate to them, like they would have been in a situation that I'm assuming would just feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And then being brought out of that,
Correct.
like, that
Correct.
makes sense that they
Being
would
like,
be just,
maybe thinking their life's over and this is what my life's going to, it's a very Buddhist driven country. So they believe, that maybe they're being punished for something in another life. But Yeah, and then to be rescued from that and then restored and then loving life.
Yeah. That's awesome.
When you wouldn't expect that. So yeah, it's huge.
Now, were you over there as like support, or did you go over to actually?
We helped. We just helped. We helped with some investigations. We did some training, and they trained us, and we just did some collaboration stuff. So it's more like collaborating with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah.
That's so neat. Is it like what you're doing directly has an impact and like feels like it's for a higher purpose?
Yeah.
Like, what's that like? Like,
that's sweet. Like, imagine being able to do things that you're passionate about and then have them mean something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all want, right? Like, we all want to be like, hey, I want to do this and I want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm blessed that God put me in the situation to meet Brad.
Yeah.
And learn about Zoe. And honestly, it's been a blessing more for me than anything I've given back or helped, I think. And I hope I've been more of a help than a hindrance in their whole mission and ministry. But no, I mean, it's a blessing. It's huge. Like, again, I can't say enough. I'm blessed to be able to be part of Zoe and Ram and riding with them and racing with them and raising awareness. I was amazingly blessed to be able to go to Thailand and experience that joy and the mission and what they do. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think even for myself, like, just being honest, like, I'm one where I will chase anything.
Yeah.
Like, because generally I'm just intrigued by a
Sure.
lot. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is sick. But if you don't have doing something for a higher purpose that's bigger than yourself, it's exactly like Ecclesiastes. Like, everything is meaningless.
Yeah, right.
Like, I've done some sweet stuff in my life, and it always just like dries up, and then you got to go on to the next thing. And yeah, it's just cool to hear people where it's like, no, like, this is bigger than me. Like, this isn't just like for myself.
No, and if you know, again, you always become, I think, at the end, you end up getting more blessed than anything you're giving back, and that's the cool thing. And it's not the reason you get into it, but it is crazy. Like, again, Zoe's given so much more to me than I think I've given to it. But just to be part of it's like, oh, crazy,
it's incredible.
Blessing. Yeah, I love the people, and like, man, I was in Thailand for 10 days, but those people who were over there that I met, the Thai people and the American missionaries there, like, man, I got close to them in that time. Like, and I remember leaving thinking, what if I don't see them again? Like, what if I'm not hanging out with them every day?
Yeah.
Because we hung out every day doing stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, it was tough. I'm like, these guys are my bros now. Like, I'm not going to see them. I'm not going to try to converse with them, and that's crazy. So yeah, it's crazy how powerful. Going back to like when you do commonalities together that binds you. Yeah. That's what it was. Like doing that stuff over there in the work, and they're the heroes. The Thai people over there who are doing it, who work for Zoe, they're the true heroes. They do it day in and day out, and that's where, like, man, I don't want to do anything to get in their way because they're doing powerful, huge work. I'm not. I'm not. Like, I'm not. They're over there every day in their own country, fighting and putting themselves on a line in a different situation as a developing nation than in America. So, yeah. Easy to sit here and be like, you know, I can do this, but they do it every day. They're the warriors on the ground. Truly warriors, yeah.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And I think even so, like, I had this question written down, and I think you kind of answered it there. But even in the race itself, like, you're suffering through pain and hunger and non-sleep, and I'm not one where I cry easily. Like, I haven't cried. It's sad to say, but like, my grandparents died and like saw their lifeless body and like nothing.
Yeah.
And I teared up twice during that freaking documentary.
Yeah, man,
I was
cried
like,
a lot.
What the crap?
Thankfully,
like,
they didn't have all the times I cried on there because I mean, like, it's
And I think then I was like, okay, why did I just like? I didn't cry when like someone close to me died. What's going on here? And then I had to like dig into that. And I think what the conclusion I've arrived at is the conviction.
Sure.
And like, when you see someone with that much conviction, where they're willing to, do an outlandish bike ride,
sure,
but also then to what you're saying,
right,
day in and day out, fight for that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, frick, like,
I know.
I don't have that conviction.
Right, and that's what impacts you. Like someone like Brad, who, you know, in the police world, or like in our industry, like, our pensions are a big deal. Like, you know, that's your retirement. And, you know, Brad left without a full pension to go work for Zoe because he was called to do that. Like, that's not normal in the police world. Like, you're going to get your 25 years and your full pension. He left early because of calling to do that. So, like, he's a guy who motivates you.
Yeah.
And you can look at someone like that and be like, all right, man, he can do this.
Yeah,
like,
those guys fire you up.
He give up more things, right? So and it becomes overwhelming, right? And the emotion's different. like the same way. Like I was like, I never thought I'd cry as much during Ram. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, or even Thailand. Like it's emotional stuff, and you're like, when you're just fighting the good fight and being with other men fighting that, it's powerful. Like a different power that people just don't understand, I think.
Do you think this? I don't know if I even really want to say this, but I'm gonna, because I think it needs. Do you think we have that conviction in modern day church here?
I mean, it's probably on some levels, yeah. But again, even myself, we're so coddled. Like in America, we're so coddled. Like that was my first time ever going to a developing nation. Yeah, you know what I mean. And to see the difference over there compared to what we do, like what we have and what we think's hard life, like. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, what are we saying? We're two grown men sitting on comfortable couches talking to each other.
Right. And I mean, I think it's a hard perspective. So it's hard to judge in my mind and be like, yeah, no, we don't have that conviction. I think we do. I just think it's different. I think people don't, we talked about it earlier, like having perspective. If you didn't go live in Philly for a week, like you won't have that perspective. So again, blessing for me to like see inside a developing nation and be like, wow, this is what these people go through. Can I really complain about my life? Yeah. Like, can I really complain? Like, you know, how can I, even if I barely have a job or barely have money to have food, I'm still better off than a lot of people in these developing nations. And, you know, and they're making it work, and they're battling through, and they're happy and joyful. So, no, I mean, I think I could be one of those people be like, nah, you know, our church, American church, isn't convicted and that hard with stuff. I think they are. I think sometimes we get waylaid by what we think is important. Yeah. By what we think we're driven to, but I think there's definitely godful people who are prayerfully convicted to stuff that they think is important and get behind and good things. So in general, I think like some people from ZOE, California, when they come out to Lancaster, they're blown away. They're like, how is this part of the country that's, like you said, the Bible Belt? Like, we're good people, like good God-believing people living together and doing good things. How is this happening? Yeah. You know, they're from out west, which is a different kind of world. And they're like, this is this weird utopia like Lancaster County is. So I think we're coddled, right? So it's hard for us to see that, but I think other people see it when they come here. So I think there is. I think there is some good things going on. Yeah, for sure. And that's like what draws people here. My thing, I guess, what I'm just like questioning is, should we, and not even that it's our duty, but like, just for our own benefit, get out of this every now and again to actually realize how good we have it here. Right. I think that's the blessing of like ZOE to me. Yeah. Like they give me that. They allow me to have that, which I don't deserve. Yeah. So they let me see that stuff. And they let my life be impacted more so because of it. Yeah. So that's, again, a blessing for me. And like my biggest thing, and I would assume this is the younger generation, but I can only speak for myself and my own experiences. I can be very lazy and passionate about everything because everything's so easy. Right. Like I didn't have to fight for anything. Like you're not going to have a strong sense of belonging or anything if you didn't have to really fight for. And I think it just kind of goes back to those like instincts, those survival instincts. Yeah. And like I don't know. I'm still trying to kind of wrestle through this. And like, I feel like you need some hard times and some things. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is in modern day America, you don't really need Christ. Like you can get on without him, fine. Like there's enough comfort. There's enough. We have enough money. We have everything. And I think then when you go to a place where it is actually distressed and you realize these people have joy because they actually need Christ, and day in and day out. And that's what I'm saying. To see these people living on that campus, survivors from child sex trafficking, who are alive like no American church. Yeah. Like imagine your most charismatic church you go to here in America. That's not like that. Like it's an hour prayer service over there where music's blasting and these people are pouring out their hearts to strange Americans and love it. Love that they come up and I don't even know what they're saying because they're speaking Thai, but like they are alive. And that makes me come back and be like, what am I missing? Like these people have it. What do they have that I don't have? Like I have the Holy Spirit, I have all that, but they have it. They got something else. They got at another level. So I think what you're saying is true. And I think you see that and you're like, man, I got it. Like, that's it. That's what they have because where they were plucked out of that, and they feel that they were rescued.
Mm-hmm.
They were rescued and now restored into God's kingdom, and it's like huge, and it means something. Where again, right? You grow up in a good family, you go to Christian home, Christian upbringing. You're like, oh, yeah, it's great, everything's good.
You just
I
take it
appreciate
for granted.
salvation, but these people who were so far different, you're like, man, they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And the story the owner told over there was crazy. Was like this girl who, they rescued her out of trafficking, and at one point they rescued other people, but they didn't rescue her right away. And she was rescued, and when she came to ZOE, she wanted to read a Bible, and she read the Bible, and she came to him, and she was furious, and they're like, what's wrong? And they're thinking she's going to be mad because she wasn't rescued earlier, and she goes, I can't believe that you haven't shared this gospel with me earlier.
No way.
She was furious that no one shared it with her earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's, you expect her to be mad because like, hey, you didn't rescue me earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I went through years of this when I could have been rescued. She was like, no, why didn't anyone share the good news? Like, why didn't anyone share this joy that's here and it wasn't shared? And you hear that and you're like, wow, like that's stuff that like smacks you.
Yeah.
And you're like, man,
we have that good news on our shelf and we just glance over it.
Yeah, we don't spend time.
Don't
and
even freaking.
No. So you see that stuff and you hear that stuff, and then people who witness it firsthand, you're like, wow, like that's what it is. I mean, that's what it's about. So, yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's something you can do, something that's like very surfacey, glorifying.
Yeah.
But you miss out on like those type of moments, what really keeps people going.
Yeah.
If you're not, like, I struggle with that sometimes, even with this podcast. Like, I'd be like you see the big ones, the Rogans and everything, and you're like, dude, that's sick. These guys are partying, hanging out with all these celebs.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's like I get drawn to that. It's like, dude, that's sick.
Sure.
And then you're quote unquote in the muck of it, and you're just like you're in with that, and it's just like, I still feel something weird.
No joy there.
It's nothing. It's like, it's emptiness, and but you fall trapped to it all the time.
No, I think everyone does. Like, again, I'm
it's
the first
so
one to
easy.
say, like, our pride is huge, right?
Yeah.
That drawing to be like recognized and prideful, like people think something of me. And I mean that's something we're always going to battle.
Yeah.
It's human beings and it's fallen human beings, right?
Fallen
So,
nature.
Yeah, and men. It's tough, right? We're different. We want to be that powerful, and people
want to be that alpha.
I'll be the Viking that looks to. You know what I mean? Like,
can't even grow a
That's
beard.
right.
I'm like, dang it, I'm never gonna be that guy. Yeah, dude, it's interesting. Anything you want to talk about? Anything?
Nah, I mean,
any questions you have? I've been just gabbing over here the whole time.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've been joyful just speaking and talking.
Yeah.
It's always fun to.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we're sitting right at 2 hours, buddy. So I would say,
cool.
If you're cool with that,
Great.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
No,
it's been a blast.
Like, I'm the same way. I like to talk, man. I'd give the gab. I don't mind talking all kinds of crazy stuff back and forth. So yeah,
absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.